Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And man, today I've been looking forward to my guest today with Dan Baird, most well known for as the founding member, writer, and rhythm guitar player and singer of the Georgia Satellites. A couple of quick announcements. I want to thank one of the greatest rock and roll guitarists around, a guy who plays no wrong notes, Oddly Freed, for connecting us. It's true. He's going to turn green when he hears that, but oddly, it's true. And also, also make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe. Subscribe to the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the bell. All righty. Dan Baird grew up in Atlanta. As I said, best known as a writer, lead singer, and rhythm guitarist from the Georgia Satellites. He formed the Satellites in 1980, released 6 albums with them, and left the band in 90 to pursue a solo career. And he's also a solo artist or has been with other bands, Homemade Sin, Sofa Kings. I really had to say that. I made sure I said that correctly. That was the greatest band name ever. And with these projects, he's released 14 albums and a double DVD. In Homemade Sin, Dan plays with Warner E. Hodge from Jason and the Scorchers. Hodges, yeah. Sorry about that. From Jason and the Scorchers. He's also recorded with the Yahoos, Will Hodge, the Americana artist, and actually Dan was in Will's first touring band. He is a member of Trent Summer, and the New Row Mob. They've got 2 albums out. And he was also on the Hardworking Americans record and some other projects. With the Satellites, Dan wrote a number 2 Billboard single, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Number 2 Billboard single. And on his solo projects, he's had 2 singles inside the Billboard Top 26. Dude, thank you. And he's like a very smart, he's a super intelligent. We had the opportunity to talk. He's really bright and very deep. So. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate your time.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure.
Yes, I did look.
Yeah. I saw that right on.
Leave that in.
Right. Oh my God, man. All right. How did you first get started in the music business, and what was your first break?
Well, I was in bands and stuff in and around Atlanta for quite a few years. You know, started out like everybody does. You play cover songs and, you know, you try and get some work. Rarely does any come in. And I was in some bands that had good members and bad members. You know how it is when you're a local scene. You know, my drummer stinks, my bass player's, you know, like he's way more interested in, you know, chasing chicks than practicing and getting any good. And really the Sats was my first big break. I had a band called the Rabbits before that we were chasing down the new wave thing, and you know,
really,
yeah, but not really hard. We were trying to do kind of our version of it, and you know, it was like we had like 20. We could do 20 songs in an hour set because I didn't take any guitar solos. You know, I was going like, I'm sick of them. I hate them. And then got up with Rick Richards, and it was Keith Christopher on bass and David Michelson on drums, and we became kind of a band. And it's, you know, Rick Richards was the first other guitar player that our right hands agreed. You know, where does it fall? Where does it land? Where does it hit? And we just had a natural blend right off the top. And to me, you spend 80% of your time playing rhythm guitar. Yeah. No matter what you do, you know, it's, you know, you're in a support role, supporting the vocal, because that's what people listen to. That's what people hear.
Sure.
And, you know, and I took a few solos and stuff on those Sats records, and, you know, only on the hits, man. Only on the hits.
Hey, you wrote them. Your prerogative.
No, I had Keep Your Hands, and I got the tail solo on that one.
Right. That's so funny.
I played all the little, you know, all the wheedly stuff on Hippie Shake.
Right.
That was. I only play on the hits, man. I don't play solos on the hits.
Right on, man. Yeah, don't waste your time solos on the deep cuts. Yeah, man, that's a smart man. All right, so I'm going to ask you just 2 Satellites questions because I know you've been asked every like, and I hope you haven't been asked any of these, but with the satellites, right? You sort of came up with a new way of presenting the blues, and I was,
Really?
yeah, man, you know that. And what were some of the challenges early on as far as getting the band launched and also defining that sound?
Well, we went in the studio in '83 with a different rhythm section. It was still me and Richards. That was the constant until I left. And we made what ended up being pressed into an EP called Keep the Faith, that was shopped to every major label 4 times. It had hands on it. In fact, it's the same version, but with a remix on the first record.
Wow.
Yeah. So Elektra was where we got signed, but the guy really behind it was a fellow named Mike Bone that was head of promotions. And he was going, you guys are giving me hard bands to place at AOR radio right now, which was, album-oriented rock.
Sure.
And he said, and he slapped down a copy of the EP onto the guy that ended up signing us, our A&R man, Kevin Patrick. And he goes, I can sell this. I can sell this all day.
Right.
Go
on.
sign them. So we went and did another set of demos, and yes, we got the deal. And that was our break. That was my break. And the song took on a life of its own. I had no idea. It was crazy for a rock and roll song. But there was a period of time where about every 4 years you had Swingin' by John Anderson, Hot Legs by Rod Stewart, and Keep Your Hand. It's all the same song, Jealous Again. And it's just like it's variations on a theme.
Yeah.
But that down in the ditch, rock and roll is behind all of those things. That's its commonality. And we just hit the 4-year zone where people were hungry for that again. I guess, I don't know. I've tried to figure it out myself. I can't.
I know.
Craig, it's an unravel. It's the Gordian knot. It's just like there's no way to figure out what made what happen.
Oh, yeah.
But there were, tons of individuals that, Kevin Jennings won't ever really get credited, but he championed the band, and as somebody who just had a big mouth, and it was like, that kind of stuff is just vital. And so, it's like, so the moment of big break is actually a huge continuum. And when, we did get signed and the record came out, and we were, of course, all of us terrified that it was, going to do the usual thing of, you get your first record, you hit a flop, and they dump you.
Yeah.
And quite the opposite happened because of the tune.
Yeah.
People could, like crank it up, and there was a lot of hair metal out right then.
That's right.
There was and a lot of styles. The punk thing had its big moment in the sun, and there were 2 things that opened the door for us, really, which were Jason and the Scorchers on the left wing of things.
Yeah.
And then the Fabulous Thunderbirds came out with Tough Enough the year before on the right wing of things, kind of, more traditional.
Yeah.
The Scorchers and the less traditional. And the door was cracked open for us. All we had to do was kind of put a finger on the door, and it just swung open. And we had the right song for the right time.
Yeah, that was exactly it. You had the right song at the right time, man.
Mm-hmm.
And good for you. Why not?
Hey, still paying my bills.
God bless. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's great, man. Honestly, man, what a really cool thing to have accomplished.
That's so funny you said that. I just been working on a song with a brand new thing that I'm coming out with, eventually it's me and Joe Blanton from the Bluefields,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of friends of ours. Greg Morrow was one of them.
Right on. Yeah.
And a gal named Audley's wife, Jen Gunderman.
Oh yeah, yeah. Great keyboard player.
Yeah, she is. And it's we have to talk about that synth thing though, baby.
Yeah. All right. And second and only other satellites question. What were like the 2 or 3 biggest takeaways, Dan, from your experience with the satellites? Could be musical, personal, business, performance,
Wow.
whatever you want.
Okay. That's a huge question.
Yeah.
Man, I learned so much about the business as the business model fit in the 80s. It no longer is applicable. It is no longer applicable. So all of that store of knowledge is kind of wasted. But it taught me something about people and people inside the band, because every band starts out and you're all rowing your boat at your station. You know, we got one boat,
Right.
4 oars, and, and it's, management's supposed to be telling us left and right, record company's supposed to be, calming the waters, row, row. And everybody and every band, starts out and goes, well, where are we going? Success Island. To the toppermost of the toppermost, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that is awesome.
But you all row together. And what happened with us having a huge hit right out of the bag was we had the hand of God come down, grab us, and just set us on the beach at Success Island.
Right.
Well, you did have a common goal, get to Success Island. Here we are. What's everybody's goal now? And you had 4 different goals all of a sudden. And it began to tear at the fabric of the relationships inside the band. Some more violently than others, but it just changed the focus completely, because we all had a unified focus and we no longer did. And that showed up big time. Not that we couldn't play together well. We periodically, even at the very end, had some shows that were like, wow.
Yeah.
I remember when Rick Richards, we were playing in San Juan Capistrano at a place called the Coach House. And Izzy Stradlin had come down to talk to Rick about possibly playing guitar for him.
Sure.
And Rick had been having a series of uninspired shows. It just happens. That night, he played, it might have been the best guitar playing I've ever heard. It wasn't the fastest. It wasn't the thisest. It was the most felt, immediate. And after the show, I just went, dude, go get that new pussy. You are sick and tired of this. I can't inspire you anymore.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So go for it. And we ended up splitting up, not splitting up. I left.
Yeah.
And grabbed Magellan. Mauro Magellan.
Oh, right.
Yeah, my drummer from the Sats, and or I'm his singer.
Yeah,
as Charlie would say.
Right.
But the two of us took off into a different, thing, which was my solo records.
Sure.
My first 2 anyway, and then after I made those, I started yahooing around.
Right.
Which was, started out really as a songwriting machine for Eric Amble.
The bass player.
No. He's the other guitar player. He played with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
I thought he played bass with them. That's weird.
No.
Okay.
No, he's always been the guitar man. By the way, he'd be a good interview for you.
Right on.
I can. That one I think I I can make happen. But
thank you.
He's got a studio now in Brooklyn, and he does a lot of work out of there, and he's just genuinely a really good, super knowledgeable guy. He is one of those guys, though, that when he finds the method that he thinks is correct, if anybody does it differently, he just kind of, at best, just sighs. From brushing your teeth to changing a string, he's got his method, and if you don't do that, he'll inform you of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
But he's worked with so many people. He'd be a good one to have. But around 2000, I'll just kind of bring you a little bit up to date. So I yahooed and kind of had my years in the wilderness. Buffalo Nickel was my second solo record. It came out it was a flop, and it kind of broke my heart.
I love that record. It's got some great record. On My Way is great. Hell to Pay, yeah. Woke Up. There's some great songs on there, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's a good record. It's a lot of people's, favorite thing I did.
It's great songs, man.
It's great songs, great production, great playing. That's still Mauro Magellan and Keith Christopher back on bass, the original Satellites bass player.
Right. And the guitar, man, you did a lot of good guitar stuff on there.
I did some, but Brendan O'Brien did a lot.
Interesting.
He was in the middle of, on those Buffalo Nickel sessions, we did it in 4 different little sections when he had time, because in reality, I was kind of Brendan's hobby. Plus, he got to play guitar. And him and Rick Rubin, because he came out from being Rick Rubin's engineer to being a producer and at least stood equal with Rick. Some would say better, some would say not as good, blah, blah, blah. But they were having a bit of tug of war, and I think Buffalo Nickel turned into the chew toy that they were arguing over.
It's so interesting, though, the consistency. A guy, I wish I knew who it was, but I had a guest on, and he said, Craig, bands never argue when they're starving.
Yeah.
And it's just what you just said. We got, the hand of God lifted us shortcuts to Success Island. Yeah. And here these guys go. They're a great team, but now they're both successful. They start out. It's just crazy, man. I wonder, thank God it doesn't happen in my marriage.
Yeah,
keeping each other down.
Listen, that's the reason some people's marriages bust up is, let's say the guy married out of his attractiveness station, the guy's a 5 and he married a 9, and it's just Miss 9 is going to be hit on constantly by, good-looking guys.
By a couple of 9s and 10s.
Yeah. Well, it's like she's going to get hit on by everybody, but she's going to pay attention when it's a 9 or a 10. And she might grab for that brass ring.
Yeah.
You don't know. It's hey, I've been around here 66 years, man. It's just you see a lot of crap.
Dude, just keep talking because I'm learning.
Yeah, well, it is. This is the stuff that goes on in life. Is so you just watch the flow of it. Yeah. It all has a flow. Sometimes it's a trickle or a slow moving tidal current, and then every now and then you get a tsunami. Us being successful was an absolute tsunami.
Yeah.
But life has very few of those.
Yeah. For the most part, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. Yeah. I mean, there's a sine wave, how big is it, and it's, it's like, can I learn to ride out the little shit? Can I learn to ride out the medium shit? Can I learn to ride out the heavy crap?
Yeah.
And it's like in bands, because it's a marriage of 4 people, you usually cannot ride out the heavy crap. Because somebody's going to let you down.
Yeah, because it was, I would imagine like each successive person, it's probably like an exponential number of difficulty getting along. Then like you just think you and your spouse, right?
Yeah,
Imagine there's four in the house,
yeah,
four
and
equals, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, and you want that equality because you get the best out of it, out of
Yeah.
people that way. There's very few Tom Schollses in the world that, go around the corner to some Holiday Inn, go like, well, these guys can play and that guy can sing his ass off. You're my band.
Yeah. Right.
Here, guys, here's your parts to learn. Come in here, singer. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
yeah, and it's like that's rare. So
Yeah.
usually you have to put up with, and it's like if you start a band as a dictatorship, without benevolence and learning what people can bring you, and and you want the good stuff and you don't want the bad stuff. And I've always been a guy that likes a very aggressive bass player. It's it's that's where the most of music to me occurs, is in the bass. It's I love guitar. It's endlessly challenging, but at the same time, it's like I want people to push me up.
Yeah.
You see that in the best bands.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like not just a single foil. It's not just you can say Page Plant, but it's like Bonham and John Paul Jones had as much to do with like raising the floor.
Oh,
This is the
100%.
minimum. This is the minimum. You've got to. It's like Plants go. Pages go. Are you going to crush me into the ceiling? You better poke a hole in there. We're still coming up. We're still
Yeah.
coming up. And that kind of fire and attitude. You have to have the players that can play that well, though.
Yeah.
It is. It's. You have to have your craft somewhat established and still hungry for more, and musically.
So let me ask you this: when you said one of the biggest takeaways, you learn how people act in different situations,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to segue into, because you mentioned Brendan and Rick.
Yeah.
What was, those guys are heavyweights. I hate to use that word.
No, they are.
Yeah.
They are. They are.
What did you, or did you learn anything out of working with them?
Well, most of my association was with Brendan.
Okay.
Rick this was one of Brendan's first productions, was Love Songs for the Hearing Impaired, on a national level. He had done some stuff before, but it was usually smaller label. And not that it wasn't good and the bands weren't good. They were great, and he did a great job. But Brendan actually played bass in the Satellites for like a year and a half.
That's the best job ever, when you're a good producer, because you could, like, I've talked to so many producers and so many guys, and the producers, like, they're good, so they get to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this was before we ever got any success. It was just like playing at a bar, in Atlanta, and it was fun for him, and it wasn't too much work, and it was some guaranteed income for him. It was small, but at the time it was livable.
Sure.
And we get into these things, and you got, so Brendan came out to Los Angeles. In fact, he engineered and produced Hippie Shake. Okay, so he went out to L.A. with that, and just asking around, and Rick Rubin gave him a shot, and Rick liked what he heard, as far as an engineer, and said, "Well, come be my engineer. Here's your salary." It was a good salary, but I know the way that Rick Rubin produced records, which is he was kind of old school about it. He'd come in, for the pre-production, with notes and a tape recorder, and like a list of songs that he had listened to, and they'd go and they'd tear apart the songs. You know, this one's fine as is. Don't get used to that. You know, this one needs to be cut here and here. This one needs, you know, you guys got to come up with a different. And they'd work on this stuff in pre-production. After pre-production, and they'd go into the studio, Brendan would call him up after when he, you know, said, you know, you should come over tonight. You know, we're going to wrap up around 10, so come at 9:45. I'll play you what we done. And so that was what happened. Was Rubin would come in, listen to what they did, and he would go, that's perfect. This one over here, we talked about this section. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. You know, this one's just stillborn. That was great. Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. You know, and so
extremely hands-on.
Yeah, extremely hands-on, but not in the studio. You know, it'd be at the end of the day.
That seems difficult.
No, that's the way it used to be. Knock my socks off. When you're in the room, when somebody's trying to cut a track and it's difficult for them, and you start rooting for them, when you're the producer, or you're the man in the room with them.
Yeah.
Which happened to be Brendan as an engineer with a great sensibility and set of ears. And you get this guy come in from the outside who didn't watch you struggle or do it with ease. You know, he just is reacting to the sound. You know, he hadn't been in there, you know, come on, man, you can do it. You know, you're the guy. It's like, no, just play me what you did. And, and it's like, this passes, this doesn't pass. Excuse me. And that's the way producers used to act back when there were arrangers and A&R men that actually chose the material for Frank Sinatra to sing, you know, that kind of thing. So it harkens back to that time. But if you are wanting to compete, especially back then, compete at the high levels, you needed somebody to be just nasty objective,
right?
You know, and say when you did a great job, and say when you screwed it.
And that was easier to hear at the post.
Yeah,
when they're sitting right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they're having to work, you become part of the team. You need an objective guy that is completely vested in what you're doing, but not invested in the day.
I gotcha.
You know, it's like some days you might go in there and it's like there's nothing to keep. And that was their working relationship. And on some things, and some bands, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, when they did Blood Sugar Sex Magic together, that was one of the last things they did together. Part of their contract negotiation with Rick was that he'd be at the studio all the time. You know, and he agreed, you know, and he was. But I think it's more interesting. I think that whole thing of like, I am Joe Blow. I am a record buyer. I am not a muso. I am not this. I am not that. I am going to put on the hat of Joe Average and come in there and yay, nay, what happened today. Now, he didn't do that on my record because Brendan was the producer and engineer.
Okay.
But Rick was the executive producer. We turned him in a record with 10 songs on it. He goes, man, I love 7 of them. Just love them. These 3, they're out. I drove back from LA because I brought my gear. I drove back from LA to Nashville. I was so mad. I couldn't see straight. Oh yeah. What do you mean 3 of them suck? You know, what kind of blah, blah, blah. I went and wrote, you know, 3 cornerstones of the record: Dixie Bodorant, The One I Am, and Knocked Up, to replace the other 3. And he was dead right on the money.
Yeah.
He was dead right on the money. And the other songs that got canned, were kind of, emotional songs, things that, soulful stuff. And he's going, "Nah, man, I need you to be a rock and roller. I need you to be continuously a rock and roller, fall on the hayseed side, over the artiste side."
Yeah.
And
'Cause that's pretty good though. When he says, I mean, what I was thinking is, hey man, 7 out of 10 is pretty. I mean, shit. If you get,
I thought, everything I shit was gold.
yeah, yeah, right,
And so it worked out. It worked out great. I don't think those songs would have gotten written.
Yeah, right.
And they were great songs. So what can you do outside of tip your hat and go like, "You're right, asshole."
That's so. It was
dead on the money.
So it was a good experience for you overall.
Yeah, it was. And also got to warn Mrs. O'Brien about what was getting ready to happen to Brendan, because he was getting hotter than a $2 pistol. I mean, he was mixing Pump and stuff like that for Aerosmith. And so, it was just like, you hang on with both hands.
Yeah.
Brendan's going someplace. You're going to be his grounding rod. There's no other way around it.
Great problem to have.
Might be the best advice I've ever given anybody.
Once you went solo, what was the biggest difference or adjustments you had to make in your solo career versus when you were at the helm of the Satellites?
The biggest difference was, first off, I had to find a guitar player, and I used Slim Dunlap from the Replacements. We had met up, bands cross other bands, and you just go like, Jesus, finally somebody to see, that means it. They're not putting on a show, they're playing music, as best they know how, as hard as they know how. There were the Scorchers and the Replacements and us felt a kindredship that, it was, at least, there's some people out there that are throwing it down.
Yeah.
Not working a business model.
And all from Atlanta too, correct?
The Satellites were. Let's see. Mauro Magellan was actually born in Brazil, moved to Hialeah, Florida, came to Atlanta in his late teens.
I know exactly where Hialeah is. I used to live down South Florida there. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Keith, born and bred. Rick Richards, born and bred. Brendan O'Brien, born and bred. Slim, of course, from Minneapolis. So that's in keeping with the Replacements thing. They could have gotten anybody in the world possibly to play guitar for them at the time that they had to fire Bob Stinson. And so they got Slim because he was local, and they knew he was good, and they knew that he knew them.
Right.
Because they were a hard living crew. They were a hard living crew, especially back then.
So you had to get a guitar player. What were the other adjustments? It's like being the only singer. Being the only singer was a big adjustment. I had to go work on my wind, because I had Rick Richards and Rick Price always sang a couple, 3 songs a night. If we were doing a 2-hour show, and I would end up singing 60, 65%, but Richards held a lot. Yeah.
And it's just like, man, those breaks, I didn't know how good I was getting it.
Interesting, yeah.
And so I had to increase my long-term wind endurance, to operate the thing.
Yeah.
And especially back then, I was way more a hollerer than a singer. It's just like I learned how to holler. Now, look, I still cannot sing the big, beautiful melody. The huge. I'm as far from Carl Wilson as you can throw.
But so is your music.
Yes, it is.
It would be weird.
Yeah, now you can't believe I'd end up writing a lot of stuff that is really, really pretty. I love pretty music. One of my favorite records is David Crosby's "If I Could Only Remember My Name."
Great record, man.
Oh my God! I mean, and it's like the drums are this big, and Jack Cassidy's this big,
Yeah,
and
that's a great record.
But it's like the beauty in those songs is still inspirational. Song with no words, it's like I got over here with the last bass player in Homemade Sin, and we charted out the song because I could not figure it out. We actually did a Nashville chart for it, and you guys know Nashville charts?
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
That's it for
a lot of share bar going on there. But we charted it out, and I realized he avoided the one at all costs in that song. He avoided the one until you get to the bridge. The bridge, it's in C major, but he doesn't hit that C until the da 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 ba da ba da da. And once I got that, I went into this whole exploration of writing chord changes that avoid the one.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, well, it's like when you listen. Okay, you have the sneak preview of the Chef's record.
Yeah, man, it's awesome.
Which is my instrumental record that I made. I just got tired of my own voice and had these pretty songs.
Pretty songs, man.
That I knew that if I walked up to a microphone and opened my mouth, they would come down to 10% of what they could be. And I went, but I can play the guitar melody, and I don't want any words for these songs. They don't need them. They are and the guitar playing is not like Jeff Beck. It is very opposite.
It's very cool.
Well, it plays melodies most of the time.
It's very cool playing on there, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I did this.
And the titles are great. The song titles are great, man.
Well, yeah, my babe's on weed.
The obligatory chase scene. That's my favorite track on the record. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that one's my partner in crime on this is Stan Lynch.
Okay.
From the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, you had said that. Yep.
And it's we're going to have a website open soon. It's going to be danbairdmusic.com. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. There's no content up there right now. There will be hopefully at the end of the day today. So by the time this
drops, there'll be.
Yeah.
And Dan's going to come back on the show when the Chef's record gets released because I want to turn everybody on to it because it's great. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. It's it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like I keep on thinking, like Boots Randolph or stuff like that, but it's not. It's not corn pone until it gets corn pone, and then it gets corn. It's on purpose.
One thing,
but it's song. There are songs that are guitar. They're just melodies, but anyway, the first song that I really felt confident about that I wrote for this was Hippie Surf Party.
Yeah.
Which is in A like crazy, but does not touch an A chord until you get to the chorus. And I learned this from David Crosby. And avoiding going to the one takes things and makes, and you can place that melody line instead of that opening F sharp minor, you put an A there. It works perfectly fine and has no drama whatsoever. You put the F sharp minor as the opening chord to the sequence, and all of a sudden, it turns completely plaintive and yearnful, and things that make good solos. Make good records.
When you delay going to the one, I would imagine it just builds more, like everybody's waiting
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
I'm going to go
And
back
it
and
just,
listen to that, the
yeah,
hippie surf party and the David
Petty
Crosby song.
does that a lot. Petty does that a lot, where, when he finally hits the E and Here Comes My Girl, it is the cannon shot.
Yeah.
It is just like, it's the money shot. Hey, here comes my, oh, thank you for getting the one. You've been fooling around with that 4 to 5, 4 to 5, 4 to 5 for so long, and you finally hit the one, and it is just like,
But how cool is that after all these years in music, you're like excited and challenged and willing to have the balls to not just like dick around in the basement of your house charting chords with your buddy, but to write new songs.
Yeah.
With that's
Well,
cool, man. That says a lot about like
everything.
what you're
Look,
looking for.
the music thing is like, it is continuous. It is continuous learning. It is trying to get better, and it's like, learning to really support the tune with bass and learning what notes to play and which ones to leave out. The things that bass players know from doing those 500 bar gigs that they think are useless. They are not useless. They are honing every skill that you have. Even the bored nights, where you're just bored crazy. And it's like, those are the nights, where you got, 6 people first set, and you're going to have to do 3 sets tonight. And you're just like, I just want to phone this in so goddamn bad it hurts. And you sit there and go, well, why not try this run, here? Oops, that didn't work. Don't do that again, and you produce yourself live.
Yeah.
And you just try out different ways of getting around the same old problems. And that's how bass players get better. And that's how guitar players get better. It's how, your 500 crap gigs.
Funny. Man.
Oh yeah. That's where the learning happens.
One thing you did a really good job, like an admirable job, really, when you went and started doing your solo gigs.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, this is like the Georgia Satellites light, or you know what I mean? Because you hear that a lot, and I gotta believe it's like really easy to do that. I've been writing music like this for X years, and
yeah. Well, the thing is like, the artists that I look up to, Neil Young, Tom Petty, Prince. The commonality there is not doing the same thing over and over again.
yeah.
It's like, grow. Grow. It's like people are interested in you, like chopping new wood. If they want to hear Keep Your Hands, believe me, I wish they came out every morning like my, my bowel movements. They do not. They come along once in a lifetime, and it's like,
of course.
Dude, I got my lotto ticket.
Yeah, right.
I don't have to, I don't have to wonder what it's like to win the lottery. I know.
There you go.
I for whatever reason, that performance of that song, got enough people interested to where at least I had a calling card.
It's so cool. Your like attitude about it is like very realistic. I mean,
it has to be.
Yeah,
it has to be. If you just rest on, imagine ZZ Top if they had tried making Tres Hombres over and over again. They couldn't do it.
Yeah,
they couldn't do it. You had to keep growing, and eventually Afterburner Eliminator, and it's just like, holy crap, here they are. They're knocking the ball out of the park again, and it's like, some of it was visually oriented, but when you saw the fuzzy guitars twirl on legs, you jumped up out of your chair too.
Yeah,
everybody did. It's just like, I want to do that.
Were you so pragmatic and grounded about this even back then?
No, you go through the pain of things happening as they happen.
Yeah.
But with that, with that unhappiness and everything else, it is a question of, you just paid for some wisdom. Are you going to pick it up off the counter?
Yeah,
You
man.
paid
Tuition
for it.
is not free.
Yeah, you paid for it in full.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to turn it into wisdom, or are you going to leave it there on the counter? And so many people do that. It's kind of like, you just, the Satellites made Open All Night. It's not a very good record. It's, every band's second record, you got your whole life to write your first one, 2 months to write the second one. And it showed.
That's great.
Showed.
That is great, man.
And it's like, and I'll put down the lack of greatness on that record purely on my shoulders, because I did not give those guys 10 great songs.
Right.
And that's my fault, because I was the head writer.
How did you feel at the time? Like, it's,
heartbroken.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I remember sitting down. I remember sitting down. My manager wouldn't tell me, producer wouldn't tell me, record company wouldn't tell me, but my bus driver told me.
Wow.
Jerry Don Borden. I just, we were pulling out of some place where we had played some huge club, and there was like, 50 people there at a place that held 2,000 people. And it looked that bad.
Wow.
It really looked that bad. And, everybody finished up that gig, and we were all just shaking our heads and going like, what the fuck's up? Except Rick Price, who had been in a band called The Brains. He was a guitar player in The Brains and played bass for the Satellites. And he had been through disappointments, etc. And he's going, y'all, we're just playing music. You can't control this stuff, basically. And I wasn't taking that for an answer.
Yeah, that's hard.
And we were doing a night drive, and I got up front of the bus with my bus driver, who was a musician himself. He played drums for Ernest Tubb. He was the last drummer in the Playboys.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think Ernest Tubb and the Texas Playboys. That's correct. Yeah. Anyway, he was Ernest Tubb's last drummer. But I sat up there, we had the curtains to the main lounge closed, and I went, I'm sitting on the steps, and I'm not even sitting on the buddy seat. I'm sitting right next to Jerry Don. I'm going like, Jerry Don, what the hell is going on? And he goes, you don't want to hear. And I went, yeah, I do. He goes, you don't want to hear. And I said, sure, I do. I do. I really do. And he said, who the fuck do you think you are? You need to be opening for bands. You don't need to be playing these shows on your own. You don't have a big enough following. You got one hit. What the fuck are you thinking? You need to be out there, trying to steal. And it's like, and the band was good enough and ferocious enough. We couldn't get an opening slot. An opening slot. It's just like, dude, you gave the Satellites 45 minutes, and we were going to leave scorched earth behind.
Yeah.
It was going to be like no fun to come on after us. So what happened? So he was right, and yet you couldn't get an opening. What was the resolution? What was we finished the run out, did what dates we could do. Now, over in Europe, it was going much better than in the States. So we did a little more work over there. I went through my marriage busting up on the third Salvation and Sin record, the third Satellites record, and I finally had some material.
Wait a minute. So I know you're married long term. This is a second one.
That was wife 2. Wife 1 didn't last very long, and it was pre everything.
Right on. Yeah. I had one of those.
Wife 2 was the Satellites era.
Right.
Until right before Salvation and Sin. And she won't be watching this. She ran around on me, not the other way around.
Oh my God. You're the rock star. How dare she?
Yeah, I know. Anyway. But anyway.
How dare she?
Yeah, well, and we had passed through enough really troubling stuff to where there wasn't any getting it back.
Yeah.
So we did a nice, tidy, clean divorce. Here's half. Don't ask for anything from the future, you know.
Right.
And she got set up pretty well. Because then a few months later, I got up with Lori, my wife now.
Cool.
And it was right around the time of Salvation and Sin, making the record. And I had a lot better material, but
all the heartache you just went through.
Yeah. I mean, all over but the crying bottle of tears. It goes on and on. Anyway, but I was writing stuff that was soulful, and I liked it very much, which is why when Rick Rubin said, 7 out of 10, and the soulful one's got to go, I was like chomping.
Gotcha.
And so, which is why Buffalo Nickel has a bunch of soulful stuff on it.
Oh, it's a great record, man. I really like that record.
Thank you very much. And then the Yahoos was all about having fun and periodically, some other stuff, but it was more a fun band. It was designed to be everybody's second band.
When you went out with Will Hodge,
Hogue,
I'm sorry.
Yes, and there's so many different ways to spell that in the Netherlands.
Hogue. And doesn't
pronounce
help
it with a U after the O.
Yeah, it doesn't help that I'm from the Bronx because we don't have those names.
Yeah. No, believe me, I've heard him explain it to as many people as you want to throw a stick at.
Will Hogue. Okay. Okay, Hogue.
Yeah.
When you went out with Will, did that give you like a break to take the pressure off you, in a sense?
It did in a lot of ways, and it put pressure on me to be the guitar player,
right.
The soloing guy. And I absolutely loved doing it. We weren't making shit for money. I'd come home from a 4-day weekend and give my wife $50, and she'd look at me going like, really? I went, babe, we're really good and I'm having a blast.
Yeah. Right.
It's a good band and I'm having a blast. And then finally I just went, man, this 4 to a room.
Oh my God. At that stage of your life, it's like, man, that's like,
I'm like 10, 15 years older than everybody else in the band.
Yeah. That's tough.
And it was tough. We, and I started telling, Will and I started talking. I'm going like, I, not for much longer.
Yeah.
And we were down in Macon, I think, opening up for some band. And the young guitar player, me and Will were watching him together. And I went, oh my God, he seeks every solution I seek, which is to say, what would Mike Campbell do? What would Steve Cropper do?
That's funny. Those are universal guitar solutions to your problem.
They really are. I mean, it's kind of like, playing, good parts. Now, when you're solo's, you're solo, but it's like, have you ever seen that? There's a little piece of paper floating around on the internet that was Thelonious Monk's musings to somebody new in his band.
No, but it sounds like something I need to look up. It's
really fantastic. But one of the big ones was, don't play what I'm playing. There's already somebody doing that. And you see these two guitar bands and both guys making the the G chord in the folk position.
Right.
And all they're doing is flamming, that's all they're doing. Find something up the neck, go look at Bob Weir. He played crazy rhythm guitar and most of it up the neck, thinking, and Mike Campbell doesn't play the same thing Petty's playing. And the guys that are really good find the alternate thing to play.
Right.
It gets to be hell when they start writing in the key of D, because you're kind of boxed into that one amalgamation of notes in that position. You can't find a second position until you get up on the 10th fret.
Yeah.
And then, is that too high for the meat of the song? Probably.
Yes.
So why don't you do the where you make the A bar.
The inversion on the
Hell with that.
Yeah, there you go. Righteous.
Yeah. Okay, so you got your D chord there.
Yeah.
But play using the third.
Yeah.
Lead with the third rather than the root, and it makes it more against, at least you have another.
Looks beautiful, man.
Oh yeah. Guy Dan Strain.
We'll get to that. Strain. We'll get to those for sure.
Yeah. We'll take a little tour. I'll turn the lights on and take a little tour around the man cave.
Well, tell me, what would you say, knee-jerk reaction, top 3 musical experiences you've had?
Top 3 musical experiences I've had. One of them is going to be Neil Young doing Rockin' in the Free World on Saturday Night Live.
You were there? No, I mean that you were involved with.
No, okay. All right, that I was involved with. Never mind that, but that performance was
that was awesome. You know, it's funny.
He was the first white guy I ever saw jump through a television screen in that performance. Usually, it takes somebody like Little Richard or James Brown.
Yeah.
They just jump through the damn TV. The Tammy Show where the Rolling Stones had to close, and James Brown went, "Okay, follow this." For me, the set. Okay, I'll do it by era. The Satellites in 1989 over in Glasgow at a place called the Barrowlands. We did like a 2.5, maybe close to 3-hour show. It felt like 15 minutes.
Wow.
At that point, we're doing Battleship Chains second in the set. And Richard sang that, and I did the harmony. And we were a loud band. I've still got my old Hi-Watt 100 that I was playing through, and through a 412, and it's just like, we were loud.
You also had fun on stage, man. Like I watched a lot of videos.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that jumped out at me, man. It was like, and I know every show is you're not like, unicorns and fairies.
Yeah.
But man, you look, first of all, you gave 110%, and you just look like you're having fun, man.
That's the object.
Yeah.
That's the object. Have you seen the Grateful Dead thing on Amazon Prime?
I watched the first one. That was it. Okay. Yeah.
It's the first one is so much about psychedelics and stuff that it turns a lot of people off.
It was slow moving, man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, start with episode 2. Okay?
Yeah. Because I was like, I watched the first one like 3 months ago, and I was like,
yeah. No, the first one turns a lot of people off. I remember recommending it to Warner while we were playing together in Homemade Sin.
Yeah.
And him going like, man, I just can't take it. That first one's just all about LSD this, LSD that,
Right.
And I'm going, it was important to them. You should just go ahead and get to episode 2.
Right.
You'll end up watching 1 over again.
Okay.
But the question on Garcia's lips all the time, is it going to be fun? Is it going to be fun? And it's like, God, it's like, to me, NRBQ, I don't know if you know them or not.
I know who they are. I've heard them a couple of times. Yeah.
They were the first band that I saw that got up on stage, threw down, and had the pure joy coming off that stage was something I went, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. It's and Terry and Big Al would always have a competition, but Joey Spampanato and Tommy Ardolino, the rhythm section, just magnificent past all words at pushing this joy forward. And that's the thing that was a huge lesson. I went out and bought a telly because I saw Big Al.
Right.
But that wasn't the real thing that they showed me. It was the have fun, give it back to them. They will start giving it back even harder. And all of a sudden, you know, the job of a good frontman has a lot to do with being a shaman. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, I'm wearing a guitar, so I can't do my Jagger moves or anything like that. But I can still let people know how much fun I'm having.
And you were
know,
smiling. That was the first thing I noticed was, man, this guy's smiling. I mean, it just, you're putting out some good shit, man,
yeah,
energy
well,
wise, man.
yeah, and it's like that's really important. You know, it's like I don't know what I would say to some, you know, some bands that are, you know, exploring the much more introverted side of things. You know, maybe, you know, like maybe they should bum out as much as possible so that, yeah, because that's what they're doing. You know, it's like, we're talking about, you know, you've ruined my life, you know, la, 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 you know, but there's so many places to have fun.
Yeah.
And I realized that people won't pay twice for amazing. They'll pay twice to have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and I went,
That
well,
is really, that's why you go back to certain bars. That's why you go back to certain restaurants. That's why you go back to certain just areas of town. Like if you're visiting someplace for the experience, the good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go find a vibe. And it's just,
the vibe.
You know, and if we're fortunate enough to have a good night in your town 2 times in a row, you're going to be a fan
for life.
Yeah. That's that. You might miss the next show, but you're going to catch one of the next ones coming up.
Yeah.
Because, man, I haven't had this much fun out in, you know, and I'm going, you know, this is what you do for people. And also I would do a thing where I wouldn't take requests, and we never had a set list.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, and it's like, it makes everything immediate. You know,
that's pretty cool.
Like, connect to now.
Connect to now. I'm feeling this. Let's give it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I will, you know, and I'm going to throw some new stuff at you, some brand new stuff, you know, a bunch of it. And, you know, don't worry, something familiar will come up here in just a second. But all of this stuff is stuff I learned from NRBQ, you know, watching them on stage. I've probably seen that band more than any other by far. I probably saw them about 100 times.
Oh, are they an Atlanta band? They're not out of Atlanta.
No. They were not, but they had.
Or Nashville.
They had a stronghold in Atlanta. They had the Northeast.
Yeah.
And they had a little stronghold in Atlanta, and they must have had somewhere else they could go to. But this was back when they were scuffling. They were either on Rounder Records. They had one record on Mercury that was the Yankee Stadium record, which is their best record. But they just played their asses off. They just played their asses off. I was forced to go see them by a girlfriend at the time. You know, I go see all these crazy new wave bands of yours. You know, you come see this band. And I went, oh yeah, RC Cola and a Moon Pie. Yeah. Dismiss. You know, and she went, no, come see them. You know, they're playing 4 nights at this place, 4 sets a night.
Oh,
you know, and they were in hard times.
Can you imagine, like, that world is shut down
gone.
Forever? Gone. I mean, 4 nights is gone, let alone 4 sets a night. Both of those things are gone, let alone together. Yeah,
right.
It's really.
But anyway, they negotiated a price, and that was what they had to do. and she said, "You come down Thursday night, see set 1. After that, you can go home."
Right.
I saw 16 sets.
Right on. Good for you, man.
You know, it was just like, no, I was, you know, it's like second number, I thought the first number was a fluke, you know. And by the second number, I'm going like, no, this is the way you do it. This is the way you do it. You know, have fun with them. Watch what they're doing. Watch how it works. Listen, they are making something much larger than four guys. And it just blew me completely away and just changed the way I played. And, you know, that was the super helpful early on lessons. That was back, you know, around 1980, maybe 79.
Let me ask you this. You are somebody that is clearly very growth oriented. You like being challenged.
Yes.
And you are very open to like, you know, your antenna is on so that if something new challenges you, you're like, oh, were you always like that? And where did that come from, you think? Because that's
a sense of curiosity. It's just a sense of curiosity. And I'm going to use the term artist, and it means anybody that does something that has a certain proficiency at it.
Yep.
You know, as you know, every guitar player, man, you show them the Echoplex the first time, they're like, oh, let me mess around with that. You show them the phase shifter, oh, let me mess around with that. You know, envelope filled, follower, you know, let me mess around. You can have it back.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, you know, let me just try these things.
Yeah.
Oh, a new way to add, you know, the flatted fifth while I'm playing, you know, a blues thing. And it's like, oh my God, that just makes it nasty as hell. This is wonderful. You want blues to be nasty.
Sure.
You know, by its nature. But then you start applying it to country stuff and you realize it'll work there too. You could, you know, there's a whole lot more than the pentatonic scales available to you. And, you know, without using the minor scale and, you know, sounding like Santana.
Yeah.
But,
that's
you
cool
know,
that
it's
you're
like
that, man.
well,
so
it's like, you
you've
know,
always just been a curious sort of guy.
Yeah. It's like, you know, what makes it go? Let's poke the frog with a stick. What does it do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, you know, and I'm that way with everything. You bring me a pedal, you bring me an amp, you bring me a guitar. I have my paces I put it through.
Right.
You know, does it, you know, can I find one thing this amp wants to do great? If I can find one thing, it turns into a useful tool.
Right.
If it doesn't want to do anything great, and there are plenty of them out there, now I'm going like, well, it wants to do this, but I've got an amp that already does that way better.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want this amp. You know, and it's the only thing I'll sit there and just twist all the dials. You know, how accurate are the tone controls?
Sure.
You know, just all that stuff, and just tinkering. You know, what does it do great? You know, okay, it does this great. You know, just pull out my phone, take a picture of the settings there. Now let's see if it does anything else. Wow, this amp does 3 things great. This is an amp to have.
Right.
You know, so, you know, in musical styles and watching people play, the Satellites were very, very fortunate. We got to open 3 months for Bob Seger.
Wow.
We started out opening for the Scorchers, and then we did REO for a month, and I didn't stick around for those. I just wasn't a huge fan.
Was that when Gary Richrath was in there, or?
Yeah, no, it was still Gary.
Okay, yeah,
it was still Gary. I mean, it's like, you know, I watched one show all the way through. You know, it's just a matter of courtesy.
Sure.
You know, just damn, man, watch one all the way through. But then we opened for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers for 2 months.
Wow.
Along with the Del Fuegos. You know, it was the Rock and Roll Caravan. Good times.
Yeah.
And but when I would finish my set opening for all these guys, I would go and find myself a spot where I was, you know, behind the PA, but I could see the whole stage, and watch how is Seger interacting with the audience. You know, what is he doing? Ooh, the guitar player played a cool thing. I hope he does that again, because was paying attention to the singer. But, you know, learning the craft from those that are on a rung higher than you are, you know.
You a partier? Were you a partier?
No, I was not a party guy.
That's great. How do you, just wasn't your thing?
It wasn't. I stopped early on.
Wow.
Not that I didn't have necessarily what you would consider a classic alcoholic problem or anything like that.
Sure.
I just started quitting one thing after another. I used to love LSD. I flipped out 3 times in a row. I went, let's stop.
That makes sense.
Yeah, when pot went from Mexican to, oh, holy crap. We shouldn't even be calling this the same thing, you know. And I was going like, man, it's too stoned to do anything. All you can do is go to sleep. You know, it's like, you know, just groove out, maybe listen to some tunes, but it's like you can't function.
Yeah, yeah.
So I put that down. And then, you know, I would be, you know, drinking a beer or something. And one day I was sitting there just going like, this isn't making me feel good. In fact, my palms are sweating. You know, it might be a loss of control thing.
Yeah, good for you.
And so I went, let's stop this. You stopped everything else except my cigarettes.
Yeah.
Which I finally ended up quitting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't seen you smoke.
No. But I got let's see, let's give it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
This is
that?
It's tobacco. It's
okay.
It's like a Bandit, but I get the I get the hoity-toity ones from Sweden.
There you go, man.
Yeah, they taste right.
It's funny. Like I enjoy smoking cigars, and someone said, he goes, and I don't spend a ton of money on my cigars, but I'm not buying Swisher Sweets.
Yeah,
either.
Right.
You know, and this guy said to me one time, he said, "Hey man, if you had to smoke really shitty cigars, I bet it wouldn't be fun." I'm like, no. And it's the same thing that, you know, that's like what you're.
Yeah. I don't know what I do. I might be trying a vape stick or something like that. My wife's on those. Anyway. Yeah. But so, you know, I was the not party guy.
Good for you.
And it was just, you know, the band kind of just let me be that way. And you know, we had varying degrees of partying, guys.
Yeah.
The two Ricks like to have a good time.
Sure.
You know, Mauro Magellan would go back and forth. You know, one night he'd be Mr. Square, the next night he'd be, you know, all of the above. Gimme.
Yeah.
But I went, these bands that we're playing with, you know, we're opening for, are so good. What makes them so good? How do you take the next level up?
That's what did your folks do for a living?
My mom was a housewife that had to do extra jobs that were not interesting after she got divorced. My dad was an electromechanical engineer. He helped fix communication problems on the original line of atomic subs, like the Nautilus, and not the Nautilus, the Polaris, and stuff like that.
Okay, so the reason I asked that is you're doing research. This whole
Well, I'm curious. I'm always curious. What can be done to make the magic? You know, the magic is what we're all out after. It's the magic is what you see. And you see certain songs kind of fall flat that these bigger bands were doing. You know, Seger and Petty being the two big ones. And then see some of them just go over the moon. And on the tour that we were with, Bob, they had a girl named Crystal Taliaferro that played sax, background sang, and she played second kit of drums.
She's been around a long. She's pretty. She's very well known. She is a pro, man.
She is stout.
Yeah.
With talent.
Yeah.
I mean, stout. anyway, and she'd get over there and play the second drum part on Hollywood Nights. And you could tell that Seger just loved the fact that the drums were finally right again. and he let himself go with a passion on that song. And I went, it's no holds barred. It is just pouring out of him.
Yeah.
And you know, and then he'd do other ones that it would be good, but it wouldn't have that thing. And I'd go like, you know, because he was so enamored with the double drum thing,
Right,
that it just opened him up. And I went, if he had a choice, I think he'd like to be opened up all the time. Maybe he can't physically afford it. I don't know. But
man, I really give you a lot of credit to have that much curiosity and drive at that young of an age and have the presence.
I didn't even think of it as drive. It was like, you know.
But you wanted to get no. I get it that you didn't think it was drive, because you're not saying, oh man, because drive is usually associated with money. I don't mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
no. The acquisition of
bettering
more,
your talent.
Yeah, the acquisition of more bullets.
Yeah,
more, you know,
more arrows in your quiver. Yeah.
Yes. Just like, you know, if I have more tools to work with, I'm a better person to work with in these endeavors. I can attract, you know, people. I can push the band with knowledge, you know, with knowledge of this can work if we do these things. And some of them we naturally have. Let's abuse them. You know, don't just use them, you know, just flat out abuse them.
Man, that's a gift, man, to have that wherewithal at that young of an age.
Well, and some of it is like completely conscious, and some of it is unconscious, and me looking back, you know. But it's like, put yourself in the situation where you can learn the most. It's, you know, it's like, you know, I'm married. I can't go chasing it. You know, I can't go chasing that poontang. It's like, you know, that's off the table. I don't party. That's off the table. Right. You know, I'm not going to be sleepy for 4 hours. You know, what do? Well, why not watch this band that's great and try and see, you know, how the weave comes together, and when those bands get to the point where it becomes exponential and it starts rising. You know, how is that happening? You know, is there, you know, watch and see if anybody's holding them back, you know, any particular player, you know, and go like, no, they're all in, they're all on, it's flying. And, you know, and both Seger and Petty went, huh, we're flying. Don't fuck this up. You could see it, you know, you could see it. And it is, you know, and that's the place every band wants to get to. And how to, you know, early on somebody asked me my definition of a musician, and I said intent. You know, one word definition, intent. What do you intend to do here? And that definition is really good. And it's like, when I would stay after and watch a band, it was for the intent of picking something up. I don't care whether it's a Mike Campbell guitar lick, what Benmont did, Stan, you know, how he sang with Tom, all of these things, you know, what Howie was doing, because he was the bass player at the time. Hal, you know, wasn't there. But it was, did I call him Hal? That's not his name. What's the right bass player in Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers? Ron Blair. God. 66. It'll happen to you guys too if you're fortunate enough to live this long. Everything's an extra. You got to go find the right Rolodex.
Dude, I'm with you. You're preaching to the choir here, man.
Yeah, it gets worse.
Oh, joy.
But yeah, I know. And then you swear somebody's been in there moving cards around. But it's like that constant desire to improve. It was the greatest thing about me pairing up with Warner.
Yeah,
when we
he's similar.
Very, very. You do something as a rhythm guitar player, in the Scorchers, you got to remember, for 15, 20 years, they did have a period where they had two guitar players, but it was short-lived. He was it. There's drums, bass, Jason, and him.
Right.
He had to be all the flavors. If I take a solo, the bottom drops out. How can I do something where I get a low drone string going, to help fill the void of the rhythm guitar being gone? And he showed me a lot of stuff. I showed him a lot of stuff, because now you've got two guitars. Don't play what I'm playing. Back to that.
Yeah, right.
Find a second. There's always some place to play something great in the second position. And maybe lay out for a couple of bars. That's valid too. But I ended up showing him a lot of rhythm stuff. He ended up trying to show me a lot of his fast finger stuff that I still can't do. But he showed me fearlessness. He showed me fearlessness at the moment on the instrument. And I had a bit of that, but could not, am just now being able to translate that over into guitar playing.
It's really hard to be a great singer, a great leader, a great songwriter, a confident leader, songwriter, vocalist.
Yeah.
And a confident. It's like, it's almost not possible, to be honest with you.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Prince.
Ain't a lot of them.
Yeah. There's not a lot. You can name them.
Yeah.
You can name them.
Yeah.
And
Warren
and
Haynes.
Yeah. It's like, they don't come falling out of the trees.
No, that's just like, it's just impossible. I mean, the talent, the skills, and the effort it takes to get great at one thing is hard enough. But
multiple. Yeah. Doing the multiple thing. Well, this is where you'll see me on those old videos and stuff. When it comes up time for the solo, my back turns almost instantly, and I'm facing my drummer, Morrow, and I'm talking to him, going like, Jesus Christ, there's no air on this stage, or and all this stuff, and I'm gathering myself while Warner does his solo.
Right.
Please stretch it. I need to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Or in the places that were like easy to play and easy to sing.
God, it's so hot. Anywhere outdoors now is hard. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it.
Well, and then little clubs. It's like, they always put the stage at the back of the room without any ventilation, and it's like,
even these outdoor sheds now in August, like guys will come down here and like,
oh yeah, it's
brutal,
it's
man.
brutal. It's brutal, and those roofs hold heat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's if they're starting the show at 8:00, it's 4:00 on that roof.
Yes.
The sun that's been shining all day is now delivering heat to the stage.
Yeah.
Which is the last thing you need. But, it's like when survival isn't on the top of the list, for doing a 2-hour show, what can you do here? What's available tonight? And it's kind of like, as band leader, that's part of the thing. But it's like getting good at singing and playing guitar. If I were to, like in a year from now, do some short run someplace, I'd still go get myself a guitar player, because it takes so much out of you to sing with heart. that's where it's coming out in your singing. And if you ask yourself to sing with heart and then play with heart right after it, it's like, man, you've been mashing that same gas pedal over and over again. You're out of fuel. You're going to run out of fuel,
But that's
which
a
makes
smart
the
thing
Princes and the Stevie Rays and the Warren Hayneses of the world just so like, how do you do that? Do you
I don't know.
compartmentalize? Do you, just stuff, it's like, it's like your little bag of tricks. Plumbing isn't hard, but it's full of tricks.
Yes, man.
Unless you know the tricks, you're just going to fuck up.
Totally.
And so what I was doing, watching, Seger and Petty and whoever else, it's like, how do you do this? What are the plumber's tricks that you're employing here that I don't understand yet? And if you want to get to the place, I always imagine when I'm writing a song, I'm imagining, Jagger Richards hearing it. I'm imagining Lou Reed hearing it. I'm imagining Lowell George hearing it. Will I be able to look them in the eye while it's playing?
Where did you get this work ethic?
I don't know, outside of just the desire to be mentioned in the same breath with these people. I don't think I've made it, but it's the thing that's pushed me.
Yeah.
It's like nobody else is going to push you but you. It's like, why should I learn, the Mixolydian scale? Well, because Garcia used it all the time.
Right.
And it's kind of like, you play, electric bluegrass and you put the flatted seventh chord in there. All of a sudden, you've got the major scale, but that major seven won't work. And if you're using pentatonic, you're shorting the chord structure one. You go ahead and use that flat seven, with the major third.
Sure.
And it's just like, and folks, you're playing in the Mixolydian scale, and it's like, I went early on, I met this lady that gave me, we're going to try and do some lessons on something. And she went, you know what you need to learn is theory, basic theory. And I went to her 4 times and she's going, okay, make an inversion with a third in the bottom, make the inversion with the fifth in the bottom, and it's like, now, add a major seven, how can you make now it's 4 notes, can you afford to leave one out? Yeah, I can afford to leave the third out because nobody would make this, a minor with a major seven, and it's like, and she gave me homework assignments, and it's just like ways to look at the instrument and voicings. You can get absolutely orchestral with 2 guitars, bass and drums.
Yeah.
You can get absolutely orchestral, but both guitar players have to be aware of like how much of this whole scale they're trying to represent.
Well, that's what you mentioned, the Dead earlier, those guys were so in sync, whether you like the music or not. They were just,
and look, I am a huge fan of 68 as they're finishing their psychedelic stuff, the pure psychedelia and just, weirdness for the sake of weirdness, up through Europe 72.
That was a great record.
Those, and it's just like, and that has Working Man's Dead, American Beauty, Skull and Roses, and Live Dead.
Yeah.
And those 5 records are absolutely marvelous and complete in each one, Working Man's and American Beauty being the closest together. But even the 3 live records, they're just different. They're completely different. They're growing in front of your ears.
But how tight was Bob and Jerry, man? Like I said,
that was insane. And then Keith, and then I can't remember the name of the keyboardist, Tom Constantine, I think was his name. Yeah. He played with them all the time, and he's playing that great piano stuff in Wharf Rat and stuff off of the Skull and Roses record. And to me, I always thought when Mickey Hart left the band was when when they got down to one drummer and it was Kreutzmann. It was a better band.
Interesting.
They weren't as explosive in certain way, but the focus was really tighter. And because Phil was never going to be a traditional bass player, he was a trumpet player that learned the instrument second. You can hear it.
Yeah, he's a pretty different bass player for sure, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear him playing trumpet lines. You know,
I have never listened for that, but I will.
They're 2 octaves too low. You know, but that's what that's where his sense of right and wrong came from. You know, his aesthetic, his that's where that came from, and they found a way. And Jerry, being the leader of the band, found a way to weave it into the whole thing, and Bob, living, on the 7th fret and up, as a rhythm guitar player,
Not easy.
Not easy, but he found ways that didn't clog the bottom, and they left room for the piano player's left hand to be very important. I love breaking stuff down.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by just listening to this, man.
When they first came out with the isolated tracks on YouTube, and you heard McCartney's bass part to "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and you hear he's doing a dum 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 dum. Yeah, it's just what I figured. And then he gets to the "I don't know how," and he goes boom. And I'm going like, there's no way that's it. And you listen to the record and you go like, oh my God, that's it. And it's like you get to hear individual pieces of genius that you insert into like a pretty good structure, and it just turns it on its head. Jack Bruce was good at that. Cassidy was fantastic at it.
Incredible bass players, man.
And that's my idea of bass playing is those guys.
Yeah.
Jamerson, without saying, just the rule book. By the way, no, here's the new rule book. It's called James Jamerson.
I want to get more stuff in. Sorry, Dan.
Okay.
I want to talk about gear, but I just want to ask you before that, just to wrap up sort of the early period, low points. What were some of the low points or dark periods?
The touring on Open All Night was definitely a low point, simply because we were trying to make the jump to being like the headliner, and we were, and our booking agent thought it would work. Our managers thought it would work. Everybody thought it would work, and it didn't work. That was a low point. Buffalo Nickel not being well received was a low point. Personal stuff. When I had to finally stop, I've retired from the road.
Mm-hmm.
I've retired from the road, and I remember the night, because it was just last year. I think we were in Vigo, Spain. And Spain is a great place for us. They still think it's 1973. I mean, they come in with they got to have Fry boots. They got to have, Levi's flare, or boot cut. Those are the only two. And it's like, pearly button shirts. And and it's like it is time warp 1973, and we always have a great time there. But on the walk back to the hotel, we're very, very nearby.
This was Homemade Sin.
Yeah, Homemade Sin, and this was in November. And we'd done a bunch of cruddy gigs in the States again, and it's it's trying to work too much, and I'd had some health issues and shit like that, that factored in. But it was on the walk back to the hotel, and I just went, I don't want to do this anymore. You're playing in your favorite country to play, one of them, as far as an audience, that and Denmark, my two favorite places. We're going to have a good time. I should throw England in there as well. Always had great audiences. and I just going like, I don't have it. I don't have it. You know, the fire, the fun, the thing we were talking about earlier.
The joy.
The joy. It's like, it's not there. I'm opening up the cavities and going like, oh, nothing there. You know, it's, you know, a regular heart. It's not a big one, you know, and it's just like, and if I can't lead heart first, I'm in trouble. and me having to go up to each one of the guys and going, this is going to be it. We're going to finish this run and I'm done. I cannot do the road work anymore. And one of the guys understood right off the bat. Warner was like, wants to die playing.
Right.
You know, he wants to die on stage,
Sure.
preferably during the encore. Like Bruce Hampton did in Atlanta.
Colonel Bruce Hampton, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Colonel Bruce died on stage during the encore, you know, on his 70th birthday to a full Fox Theater. The only time he's ever done that in his life. You know, he went out on his highest note. Warner wants to do that. All right. And Mauro Magellan didn't quite understand for just a little bit. And then he really did kind of get it. I just went, look at me. I'm not shaking it anymore. I'm not moving. I'm standing still and doing a good job singing. Probably singing better than I've ever sung. But it's because I'm not moving. I'm not physically involved. I'm not physically, the physical abandon that can come with playing.
Yeah.
Was not there. And I'm going like, this is of no use to anybody here. This is me starting to be the band that I hate. Here's the song sung well, you know, and it's like no ass, no money on the table, no heart, you know, no excitement, no what's going to happen next. It had become rote. And that is not interesting. That's not fun to listen to or watch. I don't go to many shows because I know most of the shows are going to go to a script.
Right.
I don't want to go see a reenactment of an idea. I want to see somebody, you know, slap some goddamn money on the table, put their heart out there, you know, which is why I mentioned NRBQ and the Replacements.
Yeah.
It's like the Replacements may give you one of the worst shows you've ever seen, but it was what was going on, and they'll do it and throw themselves at the wall trying to break through to where it's great, and all night long. And you admire that. I admire that.
Yeah, of course. Any kind of work ethic to me, I always look at work ethic because work ethic just doesn't show you that they're working hard. There's a character punchline or theme that runs through. Like, for example, I was really impressed, but not surprised, because I knew your work ethic when you said, hey, well, I wasn't going to chase tail around. I'm married. Oh, because that's usually you see, and I'm not making judgment if someone's doing that or not. I don't really give a shit. I'm not invested in this game of my own. But you don't, that's very consistent. You know, when you have a good work ethic, you tend to have those kind of, you know, not to sound Pollyanna, but those moral attributes that make you a good person.
Well, because
it's hard.
If you'll hold your own feet to the fire.
Bingo.
You know, and it's like there are things back when I took acid that you learn, and it's kind of like, you know, these things are, you know, it's like the introspect, you know, it's like I'm a super extroverted person that have little periods where I become insanely introverted. It's damn near manic. But those periods are so useful because you sit there and you start taking inventory and what have you been doing lately? That's crap. You need to go find that person and apologize to them for giving them, you know, just delivering shit instead of the deal. And and it's like, you want it out of them,
Right. Right.
it's
Which
just like,
which is okay as long as you're delivering, man. You got to
yeah,
deliver the
and it's
goods
just kind
yourself.
of like, it's like, if you're going to dish it out, you got to take it.
Hell
And
yeah.
it's like, and I'm a guy that goes, what's up? Why are you playing like that tonight? What is wrong? There's obviously something wrong. And if you tell me, no, there's something wrong, I'm either going to go, all right, it's so personal and you screwed up so bad you can't tell anybody. You're actually unaware, which you're not going to be in my band if you're an unaware person. It's not going to happen. And
you're in a coma. You're out.
Yeah. Or they tell you. They tell you what's up.
Sure.
And you go like, man, I wish you had told me this before we got on stage. Shit, I can use that.
Yeah.
I can call the right songs to where your guitar playing, drumming, bass playing can, hook on to this, and we can squeeze it out of you in front of people, and they'll think it's great. And what you're doing is you're emptying the trash bin.
Yeah, right, man.
There's always something to do with any energy brought, except I hate you. I've dealt with that one too.
So 6 months post your decision, you feeling good about things?
Yes.
And you're still going to make music, just maybe not tour.
Yeah. Well, it's
do
like
gigs locally or something like that, maybe?
I don't know if I go out. I don't know. Playing live right now does not interest me at all.
Good for you, man.
I'm loving being down in my little. I've got a rig down here. I've got guitars and basses, and it's like I've got friends that are great songwriting partners. We're now learning how to do this in the COVID area.
Absolutely.
It's like not area. And just learning how to do things, it's like I can't leave the house. My wife has COPD.
Right.
And if I bring anything home, she's dead.
Yeah, man. You can't mess around.
She's not going to get sick. She's going to die. I love my wife. I'm not going to kill her. I have to stay home. These things, and it's like, you follow that natural trail, and you have to do the right thing or willfully ignore it.
Yeah. Which is not good.
No, there's three kinds of unknowledgeable people. There is ignorant, which that is the least problematic. All you do is add knowledge.
Yeah, but usually ignorance doesn't. People that are ignorant aren't like really open.
Okay.
Hey, I can fix my ignorance by getting some knowledge.
No, that is our second classification. Dumb. Can't learn. Cannot learn. Poor
Love
thing.
That,
Bless his heart. Can't learn.
It's so Southern. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. Poor thing. Can't, dumb as a box of rocks. Can't learn a damn thing. Shown him 3 times, can't do it. He's dumb.
Oh my God.
And the third one is stupid, which is the most horrible, because you're not dumb, you're not ignorant, but you've chosen to ignore the knowledge. Yeah, so to ignore the knowledge actively.
That's so funny, man.
And it's like, I can't.
Boys and girls, what did we learn today?
Yeah. It's men who stare at goats. Yeah. Well, what did we learn today?
That's awesome, man. Oh my
but
God.
It's
but you have a hard
I can't put up with stupid. I can't deal very long with dumb. Yeah. Ignorance easy if they're a person who has the ability to learn.
Yeah.
It's like so many times I remember I was producing this record years ago, and it was this band's first record. And and I went into pre-production and realized that the bass player was just swinging wild. His right hand went whenever it wanted to. And it made for some cool stuff, but it mostly made for a mess. And I went, let's call him Bob. Now, Bob, what's the kick drum doing? He goes, I don't know. I went, well, after you learn the chords and what notes you have to hit,
Oh my God.
when to hit them is being told to you by the kick drum.
Oh my God.
And he just kind of, he gave me the RCA dog look, you know. and I said,
oh my God.
I said, let's do a little experiment. Guitar players, leave the room. You know, this is going to be the drummer. We have to have him. And the bass player and me. And I said, so let's play this song. And when Kevin hits the kick drum, you, Bob, play the bass note with your right hand. You know?
My God.
And he's going, well, it's hard for me. I can't play the bass and look at his foot at the same time. And I went, put your leg up against the kick drum.
Oh my
Sean,
God.
You know, the drummer's name was Sean.
Wow.
I said, Sean, play the beat, and Bob, you play along with him while he's playing, but play the song, you know. And you saw this come over him, you know, when it was doom, 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 doom. I went, you don't have to stay there, but you have to know this.
Wow, man.
And you saw the light bulb rattle in.
How do you get that? How do you make it that far that you're even in a studio and not have a sense of rhythm as a rhythm instrument player?
They had really good songs, and they were a band.
Gotcha.
You know, you can't fire anybody, and the drummer was good. The drummer was good, and the bass player ended up playing really, really well with him. You know, he had just never had anybody go corral it.
Man, that was really a pretty astute of you to.
No, I was just sitting there going like the rhythm section's a wreck. You know,
no, but go back.
And the drummer's doing the right thing by process of elimination. We have the bassist. You know,
but with your allergic to stupid, the fact that you went in there and took the patience. No, seriously, that was like, you know.
No, he wasn't stupid. He was ignorant.
Okay.
He was ignorant. Nobody had ever shown him that.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was really kind of you to do. He wasn't
the kind of guy that went in and tore apart old records. You know, what made, you know, McCartney so good? What made Jamerson so good? You know, you need to know.
Yeah.
You need to know if that's going to be your instrument.
Well, if you're a bass player, sort of, yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, you know, what made Chuck Berry so influential? What made Steve Cropper so influential? What made, you know, and it's like, these things become apparent when you go back and start studying old music. And it's like the great thing about old music is you don't have to wade through the 80% of it that sucked.
Right. Yeah.
You know, those records have been forgotten. How much is that Doggy in the Window has been forgotten?
That's funny.
You know, Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini was out at the same time the Ventures were. Well, who are you going to learn from? You know, you're going to learn from the Ventures, you know? So, you know, but this guy, I asked him who his guy was on bass, and I can't remember his name. Forgive me, but it was the Minutemen was his band. Yeah, Mike Watt was his guy.
Mike Watt.
And he was just kind of wonderfully all over the place.
Yeah.
And so that's what he wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And I went, there's times when that's the right thing to do. But here we're having, you know, a strummy kind of song. And that kind of bass playing doesn't work. It you know, and I said, you know, you can develop something that you're freer in the third verse than you are in the first verse. You know, it's like you can really open it up then and add more notes and more inflections but you know, there are important hits on the kick drum, you know, usually the one of the bar. You know, if you're going to ignore it, there should be a reason. I played with bass players who didn't like to hit the one, you know, but they backed it up in a certain way that it worked right.
Sure.
And it's like, but that is like 7 levels above where this guy was.
Right.
You know, that's in that Phil Lesh thing, you know, where it's like, you know, I'm not going to play the one. I'm not going to play the root. I'm going to come in on the 2 with the 3rd,
Yeah, man.
but it's like he knew what he was doing. This guy didn't know what he was doing. And I'm going like, you have to learn how to play hopscotch here. It really isn't hard. Kids do it.
That was cool of you to do that, man.
No, it was like I was being charged with making a record.
Well, I mean,
yeah. It's just like, but it's like, that was the only way to help make a good record for him. And it immediately got him on the drummer. After he walked out, the drummer came over. Thank you. I've been trying to tell him, but you can't do that in a band. Because that's like, I'm smarter than you.
It's like when you tell your wife something and she doesn't listen, and then the neighbor tells her, she's like, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what so and so." Like,
and you better play dumb,
man.
You ain't gonna be married long.
That's a great point. I'm really glad that you got hip to that, or you whatever.
Yeah. But it's like the sharing of knowledge and capacity as much as possible it does everybody good. It does you good personally to share it. It helps you remember, what goes right, what helps make records go right, what makes a rock show go right. It's like I was given in Homemade Sin the theoretically unimportant job of rhythm guitar, which couldn't be any further from the truth.
Yeah, that's
what
everybody's playing most of the time.
Yeah, 80% of the time you're going to be playing rhythm in some way,
with the exception of like a Satriani or a Vi kind of a thing.
Yeah, and it's like and that music doesn't interest me.
Yeah,
nearly.
Right, it's not in your.
Like I can sit there and watch those flying fingers, and go like, damn.
Yeah,
that was fast and precise. I can't. I've heard the second song. I don't want to, and I've heard the start of song number 3. They've already done it. They've already done it. There's nothing new here.
Yeah, I get you.
But to the shredder, he's endlessly interesting.
Oh yeah, it's really.
And to the shredder, Keith Richards playing after the second song when he goes, "Yeah, that's really great." He's just doing that again, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm going, there is subtleties that you're missing, but I'm sure I'm missing the subtleties of the Steve Vais.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't move me. And it's like, when something moves me, I'm going, it's like watching movies. Why is this movie so great? Because it's a story.
Yeah.
Because I believe this character. You saw Joker, didn't you?
I didn't. I started watching a little bit of it. Is that something to watch?
Yes. It is hard to watch. But the character development.
It was.
Yeah. Oh my.
You know what? As I've gotten older, man, I get more menacing stuff. Like I'm more averse to it. I don't know why. Not that I'm looking at, again, rainbows and unicorns, but it just becomes tougher for me to.
My grandmother on my father's side, she was born in Russia, came over in 1917. They had a little bit of money, a good time to leave. They came over, but she had a saying: "We don't need any more bad news."
Yeah, like I'm kind of like there right now. I'm just like,
yeah, and it's like, could I watch? God damn it! It was. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Right.
For the first time, I could not watch that movie for the first time again.
Yeah,
it's so hard and it's so painful, and it is. I've seen there's just little things in my life that remind me of that way too much. So, but it's like sometimes it's like I went to see Joker and at the theater because it was recommended to me specifically by Eric Campbell, Roscoe,
right,
to go see it in the theater because the collective nervous energy is it's
a part of the movie.
Yeah, okay. It's part of the movie, and everybody's squirming in their chair. everybody's squirming in their chair. But when the release comes, it's finally that playing the one chord.
All right, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and watch it because we did invest, an hour into it. Joker.
Yeah, and you're about a half an hour away from the corner getting turned.
The only reason I started that famous staircase that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
My grandmother lived there, so I know that area. That's the only reason I was watching it. But I will go back and revisit.
Well,
it.
get to the staircase, and you'll get to the staircase, but start all the way over again.
No, I will.
Make yourself that uncomfortable again.
I will.
And because that staircase scene is letting go the bow, and it's been pulled. It's a long bow operated by a strong man.
All right.
It is pulled all the way back. The directors and Joaquin Phoenix, man, they got that to where it was just like, holy shit. Yeah.
All right. This weekend. All right. Tell me, I want to ask you some questions about your gear, but before your tone, man, you're pretty well known for your like very great old school tone. And when I say old school,
thank you.
Warm, fuzzy, just like.
There's a place where, most of the time I'm a telly man. And which
is amazing because your tone is like a freaking Les Paul or something.
It's like a junior. It's trying to be a junior. It is trying to be a junior. I want to sound like Rick Richards back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But so I got, I'm using a Fralin 10% overwound for the bridge pickup.
Is that what it's called? A 10% overwound?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's a Fralin 10% overwound.
Yeah. It's, it's
the bridge.
And it's going to get some of the
single coil or humbucker?
Single
coil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Put up with a hum. It gives you highs and lows that no humbucker can give you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about on the neck?
In the neck, I have discovered Brian Henneman. You know Brian?
No.
Bottle Rockets. He's the guitar player singer for the Bottle Rockets.
No.
$1,000 car. Ooh, you got some. I get to hip you to a brand new old band. They're still going.
Bottle Rockets. Okay.
The Bottle Rockets. Okay.
Dude, this has been like I have so much in red here. There's like I have homework from this. Yeah. This is like the biggest homework episode I've had in a long time.
Good.
I've discovered a lot of new stuff here.
Okay. So in the neck, this is my Danacaster that I showed you a few minutes ago. And that's the same old Fralin 10% overwound. This is a Lawler, and I cannot remember the exact. Oh man, I'd have to search for the box. But Brian played on the Outlaw Country Cruise, which we did this year, and I went to see him. And he, he's playing a telly, and it's been the back pickup, and it's pretty bright. And he's playing through a little, probably a Pro Junior, big room. And it's fine. You can hear everything. And he switches over to the neck pickup. 2 notes. I'm going, ask him, ask him, ask him, ask him. It's the best neck pickup sound I've ever heard. And it's Lawler makes it. And wait a second. Let's just go. Let me walk around over here. I might have kept the box that it came in. I might have thrown it away. I'm not a box keeper usually, and it looks like the workbench.
Nice. So you do all your own work?
No, not all of it, but I do the simple stuff that and it's like I got good at soldering. I got sick and tired of buying cables that sucked by the very nature, or paying like $70 for a 25-foot cord. I
know they're a lot of money.
And I'm going like, man, there's not that much going on here. It's, and I went and found myself some great braided wire, which you can step on the stage and it doesn't go crunch. You don't hear it. When you get that wire that has everybody running in the same direction, you can hear all the crunch. That's the grounding wire. That's outside, you pull apart a cable and it's got the big black thing on the outside, and then you get your shielding, which is going to be your ground. And I like braided shielding because it's quiet and it'll put up with a lot more abuse. But you have to undo the braids to get your soldering going.
Okay.
Which is why people like the other better, because it's easier to work with.
Right.
You've taken a step out that is really there's no improving it. You take a number 2 pencil. Let me get that number 2 pencil with a good sharp point, and you stick it down at the top of the braid and start undoing. Basically, it's undoing the shoelaces.
Right.
They're all braided together until you get yourself that, and then you deal with the rest of it. But I use, regular old switchcraft tips, and this wire from Japan called Carne, I think is how you say it. I've never heard it pronounced correctly, but it's spelled C-A-R, I don't know, C-A-R-N-E, something like that. Anyway, it's a good braided wire, and I started making cables, and it's like I would give them to everybody in the band for Christmas. I'd give them, like, here, there's a couple more cables. I haven't worn out the last ones. Tough.
Well,
but it's like I found out that you can build a 20-foot cable, $8 for the tips, tops, and then about 80 cents a foot for the wire, and then I'm going like I can build 4 cables for what I'd go buy one for.
I was going to say, yes, you're saving $50 on a cable probably.
Yeah, well, not even saving $50. I have a cable I can depend on. It's been soldered
more importantly.
Right. Yeah, it's been soldered right with good materials. And it's going to stand up to, I am hard on gear. I am crazy hard on gear. Because we talked about the physical abandon part of playing. My poor guitars.
Well, let's get to them, man. I want to get to them.
Okay. Let's see. Shall I show you the crown jewel first or last?
Yeah. Show me I know you own Steve Marriott's old Fender.
Yeah, old Esquire. Yep. All right. Let's see. What's the best way to do this? Because it's
whatever's
hard for me
most
to
comfortable.
See I can't see what y'all are seeing.
The ceiling.
Hang on.
Insulation.
Yeah. All right. This is
wow.
Yeah, that's my old J50. It's a
Willie Nelson guitar. Wow.
Yeah, it's a 58 that I picked up in let's see. I'm trying to look through the viewfinder here so you can see the whole thing, and I'm not getting there at all because you're looking the wrong side, Baird. Let me see. I think there was a set of tools up here where I could flip.
You're on iPhone?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, okay. There
you go, man.
There, bang.
Very cool.
All right. Yeah. Let's get you in the light. That's my old J50 right there.
Where'd you get? How long ago did you get that?
I got that around 2000. Bought it off. I was doing a record with a guy, and his bass player ran a fret shop, repair store up in Ohio, someplace, and in Columbus, Ohio. And he had just finished rebuilding it and put it in my hands. I was under headphones in front of a microphone and wasn't getting what I wanted out of the acoustic. And he just kind of had come in. He had just finished it up. And he said, try this. And I went, in tune? He went, oh, yeah. And I strummed it once, and I went, how much? Because every string was the same volume.
Wow.
And with a great tone to begin with, but every string being the same volume is ridiculously huge. Okay. This is my Danacaster built by Dan Strain. He's not making them for the general public anymore. It's a real damn shame. It's I had to have a guitar that I could use live and just, knock the crap out of, and felt great to my hand. Let's see. Let's go over here. This is
guitar,
this is a Gretsch Viking that belongs actually to Warner Hodges. It was his dad's.
Oh, wow.
And it's a hard guitar to play. It's a 72, which is universally thought of as Gretsch's worst year. They were owned by Baldwin, and they didn't care enough to do them right. But it's still a good guitar. It makes great sounds. Let's see. Next one on the list. Let's see. What am I looking at? Okay, that's the 12-string that is also Warner's. That we don't know why he made that guitar. He put it together. It's a Warmoth kit, basically. An old Tokai Love Rock, which is the Les Paul ripoff. And then let's see if I can get some light on the damn subject. This is what I play slide on. So I've got the action real high, super heavy strings, and the humbucker helps with keeping the high end from getting too screechy.
What year is that? That looks like it's been around the block.
It's a parts guitar. I think
cool.
The neck is old. I don't know. But it's a little bit smaller. It's I think it's an A-width neck, which is too small for my hand. I love big necks.
I haven't met you in person, but when I look at you on stage, you're a big, tall guy, I would assume.
No, I'm right at 5'11". I'm starting to shrink. Seriously, old age thing.
I'm chuckling because I think I told my wife that, and I said, "Babe, because I'm like closer to her height. I'm like, I think I'm shrinking." She was, "Really?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Terrible.
This is an old 30s Vega parlor guitar. It looks
nice.
About like a
Lovely
O size, and I've strung that Nashville high string, which is the high. For those that don't know, on a 12-string set, it's just the high strings. So you get regular E and B, but all of these are the 12-string set, the E through G.
Yeah.
And that thing, that's an open G, that high.
Wow.
The Dan Electro baritone. Don't make records without one. A Telly that's got this green monstrosity, aqua, turquoise, whatever the hell. Don't fall over.
That's a pretty guitar, man.
It's nice. You notice I tore out the tone cavity. There's no knobs. It's just kind of like you just plug it in. It's what you get.
You serious? It's like that was by design.
Yeah, it was by design. Yeah, because it makes one sound, and it's probably got the theoretically strongest pickup in it, which is the 15% overwound, which you can get, but it's that's just not it. It turns it actually into the most Telly-like sounding Telly I own.
That's interesting. You stripped everything out of there.
Yeah. Okay. The old Les Paul Jr. Somebody spray painted it red eons ago. It is a 50s. The original finish is underneath it, and I cannot see. Wait a second. Here's the headstock, and there is no number or anything back there. It got painted over, and I've never really tried to figure out what year. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
But you'll notice I'm coming from the side here. It's probably a 55. It might be an early 56. There's no pitch on the neck to the body at all. It's a straight line. And it's like I've had to do some ugly stuff down there with that bridge to get it to play, because it has to be so low.
That's amazing, though. It's like 65 years old.
Yeah. Here's this is it's a fake old T bass, and the Epiphone Jack Cassidy with the Grateful Dead
With the
sticker
Grateful
on
Dead
it.
sticker. Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but I end up using that on most everything. It just records beautifully, and the things that it can't do, my other bass can. And
I saw him down here. He was great.
yeah, and then
Electric Hot Tune.
there's the Holy Grail.
Okay, so that's Steve
Marriott's. Yeah, and it's his old Esquire that the original pickup in it split. It's a 57. It's actually, and I talked to Ian McLagan.
He's passed, isn't he?
Yes, he passed.
Yeah.
3 years ago. I asked, did Steve really play this on Tin Soldier? And he went, oh yeah, oh definitely. And he said, yeah, it was after we swapped bodies.
Oh wow.
And he has a 62 Esquire that he I'll flip it around for a second here. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, there I go. I'm back. Yeah. But he said that when they were coming up, Steve's had that Esquire for a long time, but they both loved their own necks on their guitars, but lusted after the other guy's body. So they just swapped. I don't know. I can't explain that.
So you have you have Steve Marriott's body and Ian McLaughlин's neck.
The other way around.
The other way around. Okay, you have Steve Marriott's neck and Ian McLaughlин's body.
Yeah, but it's like,
wow.
But with that swap, that's when he used that on Tin Soldier from the Small Faces. Yeah.
Wow. How did you come across that guitar? Like, where did you come across it?
Steve used to live in Atlanta. He married a girl from there, and the Satellites had a 4-night a week, 3 sets a night gig at a little club called Hedgens. And he came down to see us one night, and his handler fella said, Steve would like to come sit in. And people sat in all the time. And, if you're Steve fucking Marriott, you're going to sit in, But I looked over at Richards, and I went, Richards. And I went, I get the first song. I get the first song because I know once you two start going, I'm never going to see the stage again. And I'm going to play one song with Steve.
Yeah.
And it's just going to have to be the first because I'm not going to try and muscle you out of here after you start having. He was furious, No,
but that's fair. That's very fair.
It was at the end of the day, I thought it was very fair
and reasonable. Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, we played. That was one of my first experiences with how do you do that? We started playing. He said, what do you want to play? And I started playing Afterglow, and he's going, nah, screw that shit, So we started playing. He said, let's play Let It Rock, Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
And so I just, I started cranking up. No, slower. So we got down to, now higher, because I started out in A, just figuring, playing Chuck Berry, you're going to play in A.
Yep.
Well, he gets it up to D. And he goes, that's good. And so we, the band falls in. We're all sitting there just grooving the one, just real hard, just, And after about 30 seconds or so of that, he goes, yeah, walks over to the microphone. And we had one of those old phase linear amps for the monitors that had the VU meters on them. Mm-hmm. And I had set, me and Richards both had a mic. And I'd set them to where when we were eating the mic, screaming, it'd come up at 0.
Right.
Yeah. Steve is about 6 inches off the mic. And lets loose with, in the heat of the day, down in Mobile, Alabama. And I sat there and my eyes shot open. I looked over because I'm hearing it out of my monitor like I've never heard anything we've ever done. The needles are all the way over. I swear to God, one of them got bent. And I just went, I have to learn how to do this. I have to learn. You know, I tore my throat up a bunch of times figuring it out. And because there's no vocal teacher that's going to teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a trick with your throwing your Adam's apple up, where, you know, that just kind of can come. Plus, now he was a very short man. You know, he was, 5'6" or so.
Oh, that's a huge difference for a lot of like bodybuilding. People think these big bodybuilders, no, those guys have it tougher. The guys that are small.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that height leverages or doesn't leverage. And that's definitely one.
Anyway, so as everything is diminutized, so is your voice box.
Yeah. And
so that whole thing, it's naturally, he's going to sing probably a third higher than I am.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to be comfortable in G, he's going to be comfortable in B.
Right.
But that whole thing of like invoking the Tina Turner business, because that's who he most sang like, really.
Interesting.
I did that. I think that night I heard him do "Ooh Poopa Doo," which Tina Turner had cut, and he did same delivery, everything, same key. And but anyway, Steve invited us to come over to his house after the whole set was over, and we go there, and he hadn't got much furniture downstairs, but he's got this little room, and he's got a beautiful looking G brand Gretsch, looked like an old 6120, the real deal,
right?
And that Esquire. And I go, Steve, do you mind if I play your guitar? He goes, yeah, knock yourself out, mate. We're going to go upstairs and listen to some records, And they go up there, they put on their Ray Charles and stuff. And I'm hanging out with Steve Marriott, I didn't say a word to him. I sat down in that room and played that guitar for 4 hours until he threw everybody out. And I went, if you ever have to sell this guitar, I need to know.
So it must have had a big neck, because I know.
Yeah.
But how did a guy his size be playing a big neck?
I don't know. But if you look at my hand, it's like the palm is big, the fingers are not.
Yeah, you got a pretty big hand.
Yeah, but it's.
I know what you're saying, where like the gripping power is.
Yeah,
there.
But it's like I haven't got like Chuck Berry fingers that are out to there.
Yeah.
Bukovic fingers are out to there.
Right.
It's like they've got reach that I don't have. But shit, Danny Gatton, I have Danny Gatton hands.
Right.
Okay. With little short hands, fingers and stuff, but that dude can play.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's got the normal 57 V-neck on it. 56 and 57 Fender put out the Tellys and Strats with V-necks, and it was the most instantly comfortable thing I've ever felt. And what it does is it gives that palm some real estate to be eaten up, to where the first joint here starts crawling around at the side of the neck. And I can still engage thumb if I want to, for that F chord that you're going to make a lot easier with your thumb than you are with a full bar. Especially live, if you're playing something in C, you're not going to go to the F with, you're just going to wrap that thumb and make the rest of the F. But it was like instantly comfortable. And it stressed to him, if you ever have to sell it. Went around, there was a vintage music store in Atlanta, Dan's Fine Guitars and Rugs. He sold real Persian rugs.
Those are again, that's a days gone by.
Yeah.
Have a store like that. Yeah.
But I knew the guy that worked there, Jeremy Graff, and went in there crying. I'm sitting there, playing all these great guitars. I'm going, these are nothing. I got to have Marriott's guitar. Oh my God. And he's Steve Marriott. Why in the world would he want to give it up? It's part of his history, and I'm like bumming for like 6 weeks. And about 4 months earlier, somebody stole my Telly, and I got another one, and it was a dog. It had papers. it was just
papers. I never heard.
Yeah. It's just like, it was a dog. It was terrible. And, but I had to have something to play, and it was super affordable, And so I was playing that, and Jeremy came in, the guy from the store,
Mhm.
and he had a blanket, you know, with obviously a guitar underneath it. And he goes, "Give me your guitar." And I kind of give him the RCA dog look. He said, "Give me your guitar." And so I said, "Okay." And he said, "I believe you play tens." And he handed me that.
Oh, wow.
And at the time I did play tens. I've moved up since then. But I plugged it in, and it was just like, even Richards, you know, Rick Richards was like, "Holy shit."
How did he get it?
We're in a Zoom timeout. Hang on.
Yeah.
You back? We're back full? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Steve goes to that shop, and he finds this 58 Blonde 335 he wants. And he goes, "I'm going to do part trade-in because it's as good as cash." There's this guy and he pulls out the Esquire, and Jeremy's the guy doing the deal. And he goes, "Oh, I know. Yeah.
I know the guy.
Laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the guy." And Jeremy puts the guitar in my hand and goes, "Your telly, $275. We're done." And I'm going like, and this is before now, this was 83. Then this is a refinished telly, and they sold for about seven at the top on 700.
That was still a great deal. My God.
Yeah. And so, and I went and, dutifully paid my $50 a week, just every week went down there and made my installments. But what happened is that I left it.
That's the bargain of a lifetime, man.
Yeah. Oh, it was. It really was. I'm going off road for you just a second to show you what I did to this poor thing. Let's see if I can get my earbuds unhooked correctly.
Careful, watch that guitar.
No, believe me, this thing has suffered. But you'll notice on the back, the finish is gone.
Looks great.
And that's just wear from my body, and I sweat profusely when I'm singing and playing.
Mm-hmm.
And the water started running down through this, and it would settle right behind the pickup and start shorting it out.
Oh my! Wow. That's some ninja level sweating shit, man. That you got.
Yeah. I'm talking about, me and Warner sweat as much as I do. We'd come off stage wet down to our knees.
Wow.
Many a night. So what was happening is the water was getting in there, shorting the guitar out, and it would first sound like, you were turning the tone knob all the way off, and then finally grab the volume knob and turn it off. So I had to get a new guitar that would put up with it, and I got the black telly that I showed you, the Dan Strain made. Danacaster, and it was the first guitar that I'd touched that was a telly that felt completely comfortable and new to me. It was under $2,500, with the custom binding and everything.
That's a good price.
That's a good deal. And Fender can't do that for you.
No.
They can't do that. You're either a full endorsee where they just give you guitars, but it's like, they need $3,000-4,000.
Yeah.
Easy. So there's a lot of good makers out there that are trying to live in that $1,700 to $2,500 range,
which is just really a good deal for a custom guitar. I mean, really a good deal. Yeah.
But Dan Strain had it's a 56 and a 62, both Strat and Tellys, and jazz basses and P basses. So he just made reproductions.
Right.
He just reproduced those guitars over and over again. It's like Fender won't do it.
That's his niche. That's from a business standpoint, it's easy because he could replicate it over and over. It's not like he's got to reinvent the wheel. This is his thing. Yeah, from a business.
And his wife did the finish on the back of the neck, which never got tacky.
Yeah, you can tell me that. That was cool.
Yeah, just 20 coats of French varnish, sanded between each coat, and it feels like glass. Even when you are just so sweaty, you shouldn't even be able to move your hand up and down the neck. And it's like you get the new instruments with the poly on the back, and it's like my hands go up like 3 frets, and I got Indian rope burn.
Yeah,
you know, when I was playing live, it was all about intensity, and that did not escape my left hand either. You grip the neck too hard.
But you played that Marriott guitar out quite a bit, didn't you?
Oh, I played that until it started doing the shorting out thing.
Yeah.
I brought it back home, and it's part of the arsenal, but it's like it needed a desk job. It just couldn't handle the route.
When you pay $275 in a trade-in for that, that's what that allows you to do. If you had bought it, whatever, $2,500, $3,500, you might not have taken it out.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have. Probably would have been scared to.
Yeah.
But it's like in a guitar, I look for an instrument that allows me to be me. It's like with my limited skill set and the things that I can do, and it will let me allow my left hand to do whatever it can. My right hand will pretty much put up with any guitar.
Right.
It kind of doesn't care unless your string spacing is really narrow, and then I just have to hand it back.
Sure.
12 string is like I can play one for like an hour, and after that I just go like the spacing is just screwing me up.
Right.
And it's not easy swapping back and forth bass to guitar either, because the scale difference and the all those things that you want your hand to be unconscious about. You've practiced enough to where you can get a little unconscious about stuff. And, it's like I ended up learning the neck side to side really well. But when I see people like Audley and Tom Bukovac and those guys up and down, I'm not great. I'm not great making those huge fret jumps. I'm inaccurate. It seems like I'm always landing a half fret sharper or flat. I'm not good that way. Anything above a five fret jump, I have to look at it.
Sure.
Yeah. The rest of it I can do eyes closed. Completely.
Hey, give me the what's the best amp you've ever owned or played? There it goes. Oh, your high watt, your 100 watt head from the Sats days.
DR103.
That's cool, man.
I think it's a 73. The pot was dated 71, which had to change a pot. Okay, that one and the one above it, which is a sawed off. Yeah, this was a chassis only that got rebuilt into a head. It had been through a fire, and the regular Brown Deluxe burned up, but nothing was fucked up so bad in the head that it couldn't be made right.
That's great.
Those two things right there, I got a couple of old Marshalls over there and stuff. They're just, the high watt and the deluxe just outdo both of them.
Right.
I ought to sell the damn things. They're probably worth some money.
There you go. You want to put them up?
Yeah, get myself something else. Great.
Yeah.
But that high watt, if I had to take any one amp, and I also have another old deluxe. I'll show you. Hang on just a second. And it's this fella here.
Wow.
And I had him recovered in 72 Purple Marshall.
That's so funny, the purple on that.
Yeah. Hang on. And it's, we did a thing where we threw away the mic channel completely, just tossed it, because the preamp tube gets divided up between those two, which is why you can do that that thing of using the 2 volumes on a deluxe like Neil Young does to drive that preamp tube really well.
So that little one that you have, what is that, like a 15 watt?
Yeah, it's a 53. I think it's somewhere between 12 and 15. And the thing that I cannot believe is that thing on 3 is as nasty a thing as I've ever heard. And they let white people buy them back then.
You know what, man?
What white people music are you going to play in 1953 through that? You're going to play black blues.
I played one of those once. They're really amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the saturation is just straight through the roof. It's, it's like at 3, you have the full amount of volume, especially throwing away the other channel and dedicating both sides of the preamp tube to the one channel, where it used to, because the first inverter used like 4 of the pins for one volume and 4 of the pins for the other. This has got all the pins to the 12AX7.
This is like little secrets here, man, that are really smart, that I'm above my pay grade. But I mean, somebody listening to this will be like, wow, that's really clever, man.
Yeah, but it's like you do lose some flexibility, but you gain something as well. Now, it was, the 2 volume thing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way we decided to go with it. And as you get the thing up towards full gas, which was 12 back then,
right.
Past 11. The opening of Alabama by Neil Young.
Yes. Yeah.
It'll do that exactly.
Wow.
It will do that exactly. It is just so torn up.
There is on Wikipedia, I don't know if you know that, if you look yourself up on Wikipedia, it's really weird, the stuff people put there. It's like this is really random. It said something like, Dan had a conversation with Neil Young in a hotel gym one day about blah, blah, blah. I was like,
yeah,
but that's a random thing to put. Like, what, isn't it random to post? That's like saying, Dan favors red toolboxes.
Yeah.
It's just really random.
It was a totally weird thing. I will tell you that story. I will tell you that story. It is really funny. So the satellites are up in New York. Well, actually, we're remixing Open All Night, trying to make it sound better, and not achieving it. But a friend of mine that worked at Reprise, she called up and said, "Hey, Dan, I got tickets to Neil Young and the Blue Notes. They're playing down at this place called The World. It turns into a disco at midnight. You want to come down and see?" I went, "Well, hell yes, I want to come see."
Yeah.
And it's like, it was a weird band, the blues band with he had like 6 horn players. I think he had keys, bass, drums, and him.
Talk about a guy who's been open to change over his career.
Yes.
Yeah,
big hero. Anyway, they do the show. It's really good. It's different. Everybody's wanting to hear, Down by the River and Powderfinger, and they don't get it.
Right.
Which I put that in my notebook too. I went, do what you want.
Yeah. Yes, very much.
But they said, "Well, you want to come meet him?" And I went, he doesn't have time for that crap, and right as, they start with that, they start the disco up.
Okay.
And let me tell you, however loud Neil was, this was twice the volume.
Yeah. Those clubs were like, they were
New
really
York City,
loud back in the day,
City,
man.
It is rocking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you basically have to cause ear damage to have any information passed back and forth.
Yeah.
Or use hand language. Anyway, they go walking off, and it's like, and I follow them, and it's like, sure enough, they come to the dressing closet. And they, one of the girls leans into the security guy and says something, and he opens the door, and Neil Young comes out. And we're standing kind of four square. You know, it's like if you were Neil and I'd be here and the two girls were over on the side.
Okay.
And we're keeping, you know, a proper amount of distance between
Social
us.
distancing.
Yeah, well, before it was fashionable. You know, so we're like, you know, 4 feet apart, you know, maybe 5. And you know, and he shakes the girl's hands and then he shakes my hand and he goes, oh, like that. And I go, I can't hear you. and he does that and turns around and walks back in to the dressing room. And they go, why didn't you say anything? And I went, I couldn't hear him. He just said, I like your band. And I felt 1 inch tall.
Wow.
1 inch tall. It's like he said, I like your band. And I went, so what?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what I would have taken out of it. I am ready to throw up. I'm ready to pass out. I'm just going like, gals, I need to walk back to my hotel. They go, you're staying way uptown, you know? And I went, I don't care. And I walked 60 New York blocks.
Right.
You idiot. You fucking idiot. All you had to do was go, yeah, you know, anything. So we're staying at this nice hotel. I can barely sleep that night. This is personally
this is
horrifying.
really like, yeah.
This is horrifying. It's like, this is one of my touchstone guys, you know, said, I like your band. You said, so what? I get down and this is back when I used to exercise pretty regularly, especially a lot of jogging. And I got on a treadmill down there. And have you ever used one?
Yeah, I use treadmill all the time.
Okay. I was going 7 miles an hour for 45 minutes.
How the hell did you? That's nuts, man.
Pure self-hatred. Pure self-hatred. I was going to
7 miles an hour for 15 minutes is like a nuts workout.
There were, you know, this was a nice hotel and there were adults in the room, you know, looking at me like, all right, this guy is obviously psycho.
Right.
You know, stay away from him. I'm just sitting there just going, idiot, 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 you know, just fast as I can. Anyway, 45 minutes gets up. I cool down, get over into the changing room, and there's Neil Young.
How funny is that? Oh my God.
And he is just, and it's like, you know, and I'm, you know, taking my shirt off and he's already taken his pants off. And I sit there and go, you go over and you explain you couldn't hear him. Hi, Neil. We met. My name's Dan. We met last night right after your show, which was great, by the way. And I couldn't hear anything you said. And I got told that you said something complimentary and I gave you a shoulder shrug. I cannot feel any stupider. And he goes, and as soon as stupider came out of my mouth, I went, was that an old Silvertone you were using? Bam! Bingo! Lottery.
Okay. You know? So he was like, everything was over. It was all forgiven.
Yeah, and we start talking about Old Black. And,
so
we
funny.
start talking about the Whizzer, and we start talking, you know, and it's just like, you know, he's just coming in with the Whizzer.
That's
you know,
great.
But he said, you know, I had to leave that behind because, you know, I needed that, you know, and I needed something, you know, and that Silvertone's a pretty cool amp. And I went, yeah, is that the 610 model? He went, yeah. How did you know? And I went, man, I used to look at them in the Sears catalog.
So
you know?
Funny.
You know, and so we sat there and we talked for like 15, 20 minutes, real time.
Right.
You know, just hanging out in our underpants. And we left, you know, and, you know, I finally went, if you keep talking, you will turn into the pest. You know,
so you just,
yeah, I just kind of made myself scarce. I went, I know you got to work out. And he goes, yeah, it was good to meet you. You know, and I went, fantastic to meet you.
Oh, that's so cool. And man, it's good that you got redeemed because that was weighing on you so heavy.
Oh my God. It was like cinder blocks on my back, wet cinder blocks, you know, just, I couldn't move. I slept 2 hours that night.
Wow.
You know,
But I bet you slept 10 the next one after that.
Yes, I did, basically. It was, all was right with the world. So that's the Neil Young in the Underpants and finding out all about Old Black and everything else.
Well, it was much better the way you told it than the way it says on Wikipedia.
Yeah, of course. They don't do any backstory. It takes up inches.
It was nothing. It was just so weird and random. It was like, oh, they talk to each other in the locker room. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's talked to lots of guys, in and out of locker rooms.
Yeah, but it's just like, not everybody could drop. Was that a Silvertone you were playing?
Yeah, that was, you hit it up, man.
Yeah. It's just seriously, it was might be one of the most right things I ever said.
Hey, tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs.
NRBQ Yankee Stadium. We've already mentioned that one.
Yep.
Man, I'm gonna have to cheat and go like
box set. You could say that.
Yeah. Beatles' greatest hits.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, just because the songs are so fucking good.
Number one band amongst
Yeah. And if I had to pick a Stones record, it'd be Beggar's Banquet.
Oh,
that was my favorite of the big 4. A lot of people, most people hit the Exile.
Yeah.
Which I thought leaned too heavily at one tempo and feel.
Man, I thought Exile was okay.
I thought it was. It's like I can appreciate it now, but it's like Just Want to See His Face, and there's a couple of others that are just.
There's some good stuff on there.
Why is this on here? But Casino Boogie isn't my favorite, but it's like, if you cut it down to one record, it'd probably be my number 1. But I love the width of material on Beggars.
On Beggars.
I mean, it's just like you go down, Sympathy, No Expectations, Dear Doctor. No, Dear Doctor's not next. Yeah, it is. Dear Doctor, Parachute Woman, Jigsaw Puzzle. And then you flip it over, you got Street Fighting Man. What comes after that?
Flip it over. That's funny.
Yeah. It was Street Fighting Man, Prodigal Son, Stray Cat Blues, one of the best Stone songs of all time.
Yeah, it's a great track.
And then
Johnny Winter did a good cover of that as well.
Yeah, Waiting for a Girl with her curls in her hair. A Factory Girl. Then Salt of the Earth.
Yeah, that's a great gospel track.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, to me, it's like you've got so many different feels, that little bit of Dylan influence in like Salt of the Earth, and the masterpieces that are Street Fighting Man and Empathy. The masterpieces. And Prodigal Son, it's like that, and No Expectations, and Dear Doctor. It's just like, man, no, let's just go make records like that, like they used to make, the ones we loved when we were kids.
No Expectations is great.
It is simply great, and it's like it's all pretty much all Keith on the guitar work, because they hadn't got Mick Taylor yet.
Yeah, that was my
Brian
favorite.
was all but useless.
Oh yeah.
But it's like you got Let It Bleed and Sticky Fingers as well, and it's kind of like, to say that those aren't great records is silly.
Sticky
Fingers, the big 4.
Favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, a lot of people is with Sticky Fingers. Oh, one other feather in my cap.
Yes, sir.
That you hadn't mentioned. I got to be the singer in the Bobby Keys band.
Yeah, I saw that. The sax player for the Stones.
Yes. And
how did that?
Keith's twin brother. Bobby lived in Nashville. I had a friend who had put together a band that was not good enough, and Bobby didn't want to play any, and because he was using some friends from up in Louisville, and it was hard for him to get together and work up material and stuff. But he came to me and said, look, if I get you, Michael Webb, Steve Gorman, and Robert Kearns, you and me, to play all this stuff, And I'm going like, I'm so in. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and I will tell the story. So we set it all up. You know, we were going to do a little rehearsal at this bar that was, you know, not open, or it was open and it's just kind of like, you know, you can't care if anybody comes in, and nobody basically did. And we got, you know, the five of us minus Bobby, you know, we get there and we set up and said, well, yeah. And the guitar player, Chark, said, well, Bobby said he's going to be running about 15, 20 minutes late. You know, I went, okay, good of him to tell us.
Were you just singing or are you playing guitar as well?
Playing guitar and singing.
Yeah.
And we got there, and I think we had run through like 2 or 3 numbers, and we were just starting the letter, you know, because we were honoring the Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour. And he comes in and he kind of is nodding his head up and down, and he goes, Hank, you know, does the, you know, keep going, I'll be there in a minute. Goes and puts his horn together, and he starts walking up on stage like 5 seconds before his solo comes, and he breaks into it, and everybody on that stage jumped 2 inches straight up. It was like, oh my God,
that's
it. That's not a sax player. That's Bobby motherfucking Keys.
Yeah, man.
Not an imitation, not a like. And we were all just so excited. And he was going, you sound pretty good, fellas. You sound pretty good. You know, and I went, Bob, it's really, really great to meet you again. I met you one time. Yeah, I remember that. You know, and he says hello to everybody. And I said, well, what's next? He goes, what's next? And I went, I know you don't need the work. I never sung it. I got the lyric sheet here in front of me. Can we do The Wanderer? And he goes, sure. You know,
that's
so we get to it, you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm playing away, and he doesn't come in until the solo.
So you picked all these songs with sax solos.
Yeah. It's just it was a celebration of the Bobby Keys world. I mean, you know, we were doing like 5 Stone songs, you know, Live With Me, which was the first thing he ever cut with them. And then Brown Sugar, you know, which is the indispensable sax solo. But we're playing The Wanderer, and he walks up to the microphone and just, I thought, seriously, my thought was, yes, Santa Claus is real. He's standing next to me.
That's cool, man.
He is playing the song the correct way. And I was jumping up and down like a kid who had just gotten a BB gun and a Schwinn banana seat bike for his 10th birthday.
Did you play Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Yes, which was the hardest song in the world to sing and play the rhythm guitar part on.
That's one of my all-time favorite songs. That's such
we did that
song.
one. We did Whatever Gets You Through the Night, which is
right. Yeah, with George Harrison,
Elton and Lennon, and we did what Harrison song did we do? We did What Is Life?
Yeah, pretty song.
You know, and my main job inside the band, outside of remembering lyrics and playing the right chords, was making sure that Bobby didn't die when he was playing a solo.
I was going to say, is he still around?
No, he died.
Yeah,
he died. Actually, him and Ian McLagan died within a day of each other.
Oh wow!
But we knew Bobby was going to die. We didn't know Mac was.
Yeah,
yeah. Wow. Bobby was really, really sick. His liver, you know, he helped it to get sick.
I was going to say, yeah, usually when it's liver, it's assisted.
He pushed. But hey, man, this is the guy that did fill the bathtub with Dom Perignon with a groupie. Much to Mick Jagger's, disgust and dismay, he actually did that. He was that guy. But it was just on and off again work. We did one set of dates that was 6 dates over 7 days. That by the end of it, we were a shit hot band. We had changed drummers to Brad Pemberton, who had played with Ryan Adams and the Cardinals.
Okay.
And
is that how the connection with like you and Neil came in through that?
yeah, some of that. But I think I just knew Neil a little tiny bit from just, you know, guy hanging around, you know, guitar guy. And I knew Todd Snyder really well. I'd played
Okay.
guitar for him a few times when Kimbrough couldn't, way back.
Yeah, I had Will on.
And
It's funny. Man, it's a small world, man.
it is. It's a small Nashville, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he, it's like, you know, me and Neil, it's like I went over to sing backups on the Hardworking Americans record, and we really, really connected and had the, you know, nobody else around, no other distractions, just each other. And we started talking about bands we really dug, and had no idea he was a big time Free fanatic, you know, really loved Kossoff. And that vibrato,
I think his
still
favorite album, I think, was not Sticky Fingers, was one you just mentioned.
The Let It Bleed?
The Stones, no, the double record, the Stones double.
Exile.
Yeah,
Exile.
that was his favorite record. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, he talked about that a lot.
He was, but he was such a sweet, personable guy.
Oh yeah.
And you know, Brad was, you know, like Brad lives here. Brad Pemberton, the drummer,
sure,
that played with him in Ryan's band. You know, that Neil's suicide busted him up so bad.
Yeah,
so bad. I mean, you know, there are a lot of people, and you had done that thing and talked about that need help business. And
oh, you heard that?
Yeah.
When I said, and I didn't catch that, but before I wasn't scheduled to drop that interview, and then but after he committed suicide, I said, man, let me just re-listen to this. I want to make sure there's nothing.
Yeah,
I don't want to be like ill. Like, I don't want people to think, oh, this guy just I mean, it was going to drop. I had just had the interview 2 weeks before, so it was scheduled to drop, but I wanted to, and that's when I caught that when I asked him, well, how are you about asking for help?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's like you that saying of everyone's going through a struggle you have no idea about, you know, comes into play. And it's, you know, there's a bunch of people that have, you know, I wondered why Kurt Cobain left, you know. It's just like, man, you married the wrong gal or what? I know she's a handful. You know, there's this thing called a divorce that really works out pretty good for everybody involved.
Yeah.
You know, even the hard cases.
I think just coping skills are varied amongst people, and know, I think it's really hard to ask help for that.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, and we all have things that weigh on us internally that no one has any idea about.
Yeah.
You know, and those things are so ridiculously personal. And you know, me being a guy that is not going to commit suicide unless I've got untreatable, painful cancer. You know, I've been through 2 cancers, and it's just like, you know, if Doc comes up to me, my guy, Dr. Habib Das, yes, I trust him with my life. I have twice.
Right on, man.
You know, comes up and says, you know, man, there's nothing we can do. There is nothing. And it's going to start hurting really, really bad. You might start getting ready for hospice. I'd probably, you know, talk it over with the wife and go, how about I just exit stage left a little early?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to hang.
You don't have kids, do you?
No, I don't. So there
different
vibe, different
yeah,
aspect.
Man, different minds. Yeah, it's totally.
Yeah, both my parents are dead. I have one brother. I've always had just one brother, and I would call him and go like, I ain't gonna go out the long hard way. I'm not gonna go out the long hard way. I'm going to find. I've passed a kidney stone.
Oh.
I've had morphine. I've had hospital grade morphine. I know what this stuff is for. I'm going to go downtown and find Mr. Wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to score
Yeah.
an 8-ball of junk off the guy and go out.
Yeah.
You know, I've never done it in my life. I'm sitting there going like, but I went from completely in the worst pain I've ever been in to feeling good with 2 U's.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I know what the stuff's for, and it is for that situation.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's like, you know, I'm not a suicide guy. So anytime I hear about anybody committing suicide, I'm going like, I always go, what would have to go so wrong in your life? And I went, you're just not wired that way, Dan.
Yeah, it's just different people have different. I watched this documentary, and it really opened me up to that. It's called Healing Voices. It's just out now on Netflix, and it's just about the mental health system. And I used to be not as open to how sensitive some people are, but after watching this thing, it was really enlightening for me to see the different degrees of, because like, you know, I tended to think, well, look, man, you got to be able to deal with shit. Yeah, but that's not everybody can, and I didn't realize that. Yeah,
the other thing for me is do you remember in biology the frog?
Yeah, of course.
That exploded one layer at a time.
Yeah.
When you put your aesthetic and sense of right and wrong and it's like sticking a cat skeleton or the cat muscle, you know, in the middle of the frog thing. No, the frog is the frog. Each individual is each individual, and you can't superimpose your reality onto somebody else's situation.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to learn.
Really hard.
I can do it. Why can't you? It's why great baseball players are terrible managers. You know?
Right.
You know, it's the catcher that got 3 seasons up with, you know, a major league club that, you know, worked his ass off because he doesn't have the physical skills, but he gathered all the knowledge that he could. You know, he had to do it with his brain, what his body wouldn't do.
Right. And, that's the great coach.
Yeah, that's the great manager.
Manager. Yeah.
It's like, I'm a big Titans fan, and it's like, you know, watching Vrabel, who was an amazing linebacker, be actually able to head coach and do a good job is kind of amazing to me. You know,
because he was not the greatest player.
No, because he was the great player.
Oh, because he doesn't fit that mold of
bad player, great coach.
Yeah, right. I get you.
Know?
Totally get you.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm going to ask you 4 more questions, and you've been so freaking cool. This is a toughie, man. Even for an extrovert, what do you like most about yourself?
I would say my openness, and I like myself when I'm at my most open. That has been the thing that has allowed me to continue to grow, is like, stay open. You know, you're bored with guitar, you don't know 1/10 of it. Open up, you know. Learn a different tuning, learn a different scale, you know, put some chords together that don't go together, make them, you know, figure out the other 2 chords that'll justify that.
Make them wait for the one.
Yeah. Make them wait for the one. You know, it's open, being open, I think. And I've gleaned my fearlessness, you know, some sense of fearlessness from Warner. I've gleaned a sense of adventure on the instruments from Keith Christopher. It's like, you don't have to play it the same way every time. Don't. See what happens. Once again, going back to being open. You know, you see people that have they've closed what's coming in. And they're not living anymore. They're just reliving.
Yeah, you can only do with what's new. I know you can't go forward with what's already here. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, if you can sit there, sometimes you can take things that are disparate and package them together and come up with, shake them up real hard and come up with something new. But, most of the time it's a meatball sundae. It's two things that just don't go together. But it's like, but why not try? Why not try it? It's like we gotten into a thing. My friend Joe Blanton, that I'm in the new band with, in the Bluefields, and Warner, we would get into, like, well, what if we do this here? And, well, that'll do this and that'll do that. And we start arguing back and forth. It takes 20 minutes. And I finally go, play the part. It'll either work or it won't. And we'll all know. There's no need to discuss.
Yeah, that's funny.
On the philosophical level.
That's funny, man.
It's like, you're going to be playing a seventh against the tonic. It's just like, no, try it. Oh, it didn't work. Right. Okay, great. We know that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next. Let's stay open. Let's stay open. Let's don't say things can't work because they might not.
Yeah.
Now that's dumb. That's dumb. Try them, and don't have an ego about them working or not working. Don't tell you, I told you so, on either side. Stay open. It's like, it's the way you get the best out of people, and getting the best out of people is what being a band leader is.
Right. Which you've been
a producer, anything. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What would your wife say the things she likes most about you?
My wife would say, I give her lots of room, lots of rope. She does crafts, and they don't necessarily turn a profit when she's done with them. She loves doing them.
Sure.
And so it's just kind of like, I go, well, we got enough money for us to get the stuff you need to do the stuff, and, try and sell them, And she's got a little Etsy shop, Madam George at Etsy.
There you go.
Great wife gifts for you guys listening. Wreaths, handmade books, and these crazy little fridge magnet sets. Nothing over $50, I don't think, except for the big wreaths.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like,
so you give her lots of rope.
With her, I just give her a lot of rope, and don't judge her. It's like, you screw up one time, it's like, hey babe, you just messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Hey babe, you just did the same thing again. Okay, you did it the third time. Something's gotta shift here.
Yeah.
But it's a certain, I give her a lot of rope, and I am horribly honest.
But that's what you get from a spouse, man. You got to get that from your spouse if you can't.
Yeah, you would hope so. It's like, and I've learned to go, you don't want me to say. Yeah. All I'm going to do is get in trouble.
Right.
All I'm going to do is get in trouble.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music? Or interests?
Yeah.
Building pedals can't be.
I used to be
another one.
I used to be a lot more of a baseball fanatic than I am now. But
you seem like you're kind of like got a handle on sports.
Yeah, I like sports. I like competitive team sports. But then again, it's like, you set me down at a great tennis match, and it's enthralling. I love to see people do greatness. Have you watched any of that new Michael Jordan thing that ESPN did?
Yeah, I've watched all 4 episodes. It's great.
Yeah.
We were big Jordan fans. All of us used to watch the Bulls. How did you not?
It's like watching greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Observing greatness. The closer you can get, and the more first person you can get, the better. But greatness is such a good thing.
That's what I get.
I do like to cook a little bit. I've got a badass marinara sauce. I can cook a steak, grill a steak and a hamburger. Like I love them. Great with breakfast stuff too. So
number one hobby of musicians.
I don't. Yeah, but I got a dog. I like my dogs. I've always got a dog. So that's the other things I do. But most of the rest of it is books. I like, I wake up with my coffee to a puzzle game, just, it helps, stack the mind right, solve problems, because that's most of life, isn't it? Solving problems, it's just like, and when a low bridge is coming, how to avoid it. The removal of low bridges that exist. And when one comes, I have a few favorite sayings, and one of them, I don't even know where I got it, is know where you are. And it's like, that could be in the hierarchy of, you're loading in for a gig, know where you are. Is the manager here? Do you have to be nice to him? Is the sound man here? Yes, you have to be nice to him because he's going to make you sound good or shit. Know where you are.
Know where you are,
yeah.
Yeah. Number 3, biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, Dan, and how much of that has been intentional change and how much is a natural part of aging?
Never have made an intentional change to character that stuck.
Interesting.
That stuck. I mean, it's like I can try things on. I would say that the biggest change in my character, because I've gone through 2 different cancers, I had to ask myself, are you okay with if this is it? Have you lived your life the way you wanted to? And, for the most part, and I go, well, you live the rest of your life exactly how you want to.
So you give less shits now, maybe?
I don't involve myself with negative situations, negative personalities.
Yeah, man.
I got no time for it. When you were talking about the movie thing, that's people for me. If I detect a negativity out of you, I really don't have any place to put it.
Dude, I'm exactly
it's like,
the same.
It's like figuring that if I can make it to 80, which has always kind of been my theoretical in my mind's eye because of my family history. My dad and my grandma on that side, the Russian, both died right at 80. Dad made 81. So it's just kind of like, I'm going like, well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's not cut short. So when I, came down with the first cancer and I was 63, I was going like, oh man, you showed up a little early, but turns out that it was a hereditary thing and what my dad ended up dying of.
Oh, wow. And you fortunately caught it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the treatments are much better now than they were back then. Back then it was, it was, hammer and chisel years.
Oh, I know. It's amazing.
And certain types of cancer, it's still the hammer and chisel years.
Yeah.
But they got so much better, since time has gone on. And it's, I'd like to say that I'm thankful every day for all the things that I do have. And, I know that I'm thankful every week, but my cognizance of my mortality and the people around me's mortality and the temporary condition that life is has just grown through the roof. And it's a near preoccupation with death. Have you ever read those old hippie books, the Carlos Castaneda books?
Man, I read those years ago.
Yes.
I read the first 2, I think, Carlos Castaneda books. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's in the third one gets really interesting. It's he finally admits, that it wasn't about, what Don Juan has been trying to teach him isn't about the peyote. It's about walking hand in hand with your own death. Using death as an advisor, your death as an advisor, and just keep him perched on your shoulder. You don't know when he's going to reach out and touch you, and that's going to be that. But if it were to be your last day, would you be proud of today? And that has grown exponentially as the years have gone on.
Because of your direct confrontation with cancer.
Yes. And it's kind of, there's a there's a lot of wisdom in those books. But that is, and I know that some people say that they are all frauds, but it's just like, I don't care, you know?
Yeah, that's really subjective. I mean, who gives a shit if you're getting something out of it? Great.
Yeah.
I mean, who gives
if
it,
you're gaining, you're gaining positivity and direction and, you know, don't we all need a spiritual advisor?
Hey, plenty of people say the same thing about religion A, religion B. If you're getting something out of it that makes you feel good and you're a better human being, great, go for it.
Yeah,
man.
as long as it's pointing up, who gives a damn?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
with you.
I got no problem with anybody, you know, like dealing with anything. If it's the great white buffalo, if it's the potted palm in the corner, I don't care. You know, go up, keep going up, keep going. You know, there's always new stuff. There's always interesting stuff.
Dan, last question. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely. It depends on when you want to, which person you want to ask, the 20-year-old, the 10-year-old, 30-year-old, you know. I believe in the cycles of 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
From 0 to 7, you're an infant. You know, you get more functions, but you're still an infant. You know, from 7 to 14, pre-puberty, you're a child. You know, 14 to 21, you go through your puberty. 21, you get the right to drink and stuff like that. You get lots of extra rights at 21. You've made it to a certain place. 28, you finished the first cycle of sevens, to me.
Yeah.
And you meet a lot of the same characters come back in your life with different skins.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny.
And you meet them again, and it's like, are you going to handle this one any better than the last one?
Yeah, it's very funny. There's not like 1,000 different people. There's like 8 different people.
There's 7 stories. There's 7.
And they come.
Seven is super powerful.
That's
7
funny.
is okay. Yeah.
I've always thought that. It's very funny. I've never heard that said, but yeah.
Yeah, there's 7 notes in the scale.
That's right. That's right. Well, man.
Yeah.
I can't.
7 equals completion.
I can't thank you enough.
Okay.
You're such a smart guy, man. I really appreciate it. You're very interesting.
I've picked up ragtag knowledge of a lot of different things that have interested me, and a lot of it's being in bands with smart people or adventurous people and doing the 10-hour rides with nothing else to talk about. But yeah, we're our own entertainment. You know, no, I don't want to watch the Holy Grail again. You know.
But you're a bright guy, and I appreciate it. You have a lot of good,
thank you very much. Well, you asked good
man.
questions, and you allowed us to have a conversation rather than, you know,
I kind
of stamping questions out.
I was watching some interviews, and I actually felt bad, because a lot of the questions you get asked are the same questions, and like it was like there were things like I like to ask a question I'm going to learn something from. Maybe that's selfish on my part, but
learn something from, or naturally will lead to an open field where your interviewee can turn left, right, go forward, turn around, and go like, "Don't like this field."
Yeah,
you know,
and
and then it's like you can have a conversation, and you can look at little creek over there, you know.
Yeah, they had to ask you a question like, it was something like, so what did you think when the critics didn't like that record, or something like? Oh my God! I just, like how many times? Like
it's just like, look, they got, critics have a job to do, and the hardest thing to do is to find uniqueness as a critic, to be Lester Bangs. To be Chris Scott.
Lester, that's so funny.
It's like, these people, have invested a lot of themselves, and people trust their aesthetic, or that's the model.
Yeah, right.
And you just
But you were like really pleasant about it. I was like, wow, man, this guy, because I know you must have gotten asked the same questions. And I was like, wow,
Well, you get asked the same
that's a
questions a
pro,
number of
man.
times, and it's like, and there's always, look, I played Keep Your Hands almost every night. There was a few nights I actually forgot. And the call your own set thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's like I always put it in there. I'm going, somebody in here is seeing us for the very first time, and it's the only reason they came.
Yeah, and you got it right.
Yeah, and it's just like, don't extend it, don't overdo it. It's like, if you can tell if it's a singing crowd or you're in some country that doesn't speak great English,
Right.
don't ask them to sing along,
Right.
or it's just not that kind of night. Read the room.
Yeah.
And but it's like, shit. So it's like I played the same old song. I'm going to get asked the same old questions.
Yeah, I guess you're accepting of that. That's cool.
Yeah, I am. And it's like, and things that I want to steer around. Why did the satellites break up? Well, I fired myself.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't.
Why?
I didn't. I
You wouldn't ask that.
No,
you wouldn't ask that. But it's just like, I came up with a great deflective answer that they couldn't follow up to. And, it's just like they're sitting there with their trowel and their big shovel. And then behind them, they've got their, Komatsu, backhoe. They want to dig and find the dirt. And it's just like, and you give them something that just flicks the bullet that way.
I fired myself. That's a great. Yeah. You know what? Because it's funny when I don't ever look at a conversation like I'm interviewing someone. I look at like we're having a conversation, and I wouldn't. Stuff is not my business.
Yeah.
In real life, it's so I'm not like, and I'm cool with that. I don't.
Yeah.
So I always look at this like where's the camaraderie, where's the give and take?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, if you're going to get to anything more than surface, you're going to have to go together into a conversation.
Yeah, man. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't do, if you're bad at your job, there's nothing I can do about it. There really is nothing I can do about it.
Yes. But that's what it's a mutual, and I can't do that. I need permission to do that. And permission means like, can we do this, man? Can we and I always try to keep that in mind when I'm.
Well, and it's like, and you're super respectful of a lot of things just naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's just my nature. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. Oh, that's my nature, man. I'm not like a dick. Right?
Yeah.
I spent enough time as an asshole to know it's easier not to be an asshole.
Yes.
On that note, let me tell people, so Dan's got a new website. It's Dan Baird Music. Baird is spelled B-A-I-R-D. DanBairdMusic.com. Check out Homemade Sin. Check out Dan's solo stuff.
Satellites, old stuff, Yahoos, Bluefields.
Thank you.
Got a ton of bands.
And also, if you go to I can't read my writing now. Net.
Yeah, homemadesyn.net.
Thank you. God, that's embarrassing. I was like
I think physician. We have like
go to home.
There's 8 titles there you can take a look at.
Go to homemadesyn.net, and if you're inclined to buy, please buy from that location because support all my guests is what I'd like you to do.
Thank you very, very much.
And Dan is going to be back here. He's got something new called The Chefs. It's instrumental. It's freaking great. He was kind enough to let me check it out. And in a couple of months, we'll be back when the record comes out because I want to turn everybody onto it. It's great music, and you should all be listening to it. Man, anything else that I could anything else? Heated and Treated, it's called. It's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? Man, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to like promote or say or?
No, if you're making music, keep making new music. It's like, don't be afraid of traditional forms. Don't be afraid of whatever calls you. There's something down there, and it's always, everybody knows what's right and wrong, and it's just having the courage of your convictions to follow it. And it may not turn you a profit, but I'll guarantee you, chasing a trend will never turn you a profit. It turns into a golf habit.
Dude, you've had so many good quotes here, but and I always put one quote in the top of the interview. That's going to be it. Don't be afraid of whatever calls you. That's really awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was
It's
the
just,
best.
oh, that's what NRBQ did for me. It was like, you know, I was out chasing stuff and I went, man, go back and play the music that pulls your heart. If you believe it, somebody else might.
Yeah,
If
man.
you're doing things chasing a trend and just trying to be successful, you're never gonna do anything. You
Right
know,
on.
it's or not anything you're proud of.
Yeah, man. Well
I mean, it's
spoken.
just, yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, that's where you want to get. It's like, I want to put out shit that I'm actually proud of,
Mm.
that I wouldn't mind my heroes, you know, standing in the same room while they're listening to it.
I think that was good what you said. When I make a when I write a song, how would so-and-so, how would Neil Young feel? How would Tom Petty feel? Yeah, that
Yeah, how
was
would I feel standing next to them listening to it, you know, coming over playback? Would I keep reaching for the volume knob, trying to impress them by making it louder,
that's
you
great.
know,
Great
until they
standard.
finally said it's good. You know, it's like, no, man, the song's good. The song is not good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's good enough to do this. There's that weird middle category,
Right.
you know, where it's, you know, it's not a great song, but it does something, you know.
Right
And it's
on,
like,
man.
can I invest my person, you know, can I invest it with my persona? Listen, I got to get, you got to get, we could
Any
go
chance
until
we're gonna
8 tonight.
see the Dan Baird's tobacco chews?
No, because the people over in Sweden already make this stuff called skruf, S-K-R-U, no, S-K, S-K-R-U-F, skruf.
There you go.
Don't buy the 4 dot, buy the 3 dot. The 4 dot will put you on the ground.
There you go.
But people in Sweden, there's not a lot of mouth cancer over there because they do their shit right.
Interesting. Well, hang on one
Yeah.
second. Let me wrap this up. And thank you for everything, man. I'm really glad we got to connect.
You bet.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Check out danbairdmusic.com. Go to
Net. .com. danbairdmusic.com. You did it right. I'm
I
sorry.
got it right. It's all right. And then go to homemadesyn.net. And Dan will be back in a month with the chefs and Heated and Treated. And thanks to Dan for spending time with us. And most important, especially nowadays, man, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice. Go play your guitar, right? And have fun.
Yeah.
Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Dan, thanks for everything, brother.
Same.